In a shimmering, ethereal space, a young boy with dark hair and piercing red eyes stands resolute, his ambition echoing through the void. He declares his unwavering goal, to ascend to the pinnacle of magic. His voice rings out with conviction. So in this life, I have to become a 7-star mage. 300 years passed since then, and the world had changed dramatically. In this new age, Rin found himself reborn, a second chance at his grand ambition. Meanwhile, in a bustling town, his companions, Kees and Lista, gaze upwards, their expressions unreadable. The vivid memories of the past, the grand declarations, were all an illusion. A crimson haze washes over the scene, as if the very fabric of reality is unraveling. Even now, Rin walks alone through a desolate, snow-covered forest, his green cloak a stark contrast against the white landscape. He remembers the day black magic tore through his very soul. A monstrous hand reaching out as he was forced to leave his comrades behind. The creature's glowing eyes and sharp fangs were etched into his memory. Now, in the present, he walks alone through a desolate, snow-covered landscape. His thoughts consumed by the past and the future as he studies an ancient text. He muses on his own achievement, becoming the youngest 4-star mage in the 21st century, wondering if anyone else could match such a feat. The book speaks of another Rin, a person with snow-white hair and eyes. And with a decisive snap of his fingers, Grand Mage Rin closes the book. Within the quiet expanse of a grand library, Lista stands, her attention fixed on a book held delicately in her hands. Suddenly, a small voice breaks the silence, causing her to look down at a young boy seated amidst a scattered pile of books. He questions her, then quickly asserts that he is neither a genius nor merely a child. Standing to face her directly, the boy introduces himself, declaring his name is Rin. Lista, taken aback by his youthful appearance, can only comment on his small stature. Annoyed by her dismissal, Rin's expression hardens as he vows to change everything if she doesn't believe in him. With a sudden surge of power, Rin conjures a blazing fireball, its intense heat and light causing Lista to cry out in alarm. The force of the spell impacts her, sending her reeling backward, her book flying from her grasp as she lets out a cry of surprise. She crashes to the floor, surrounded by scattered volumes, as Rin looks down, perhaps surprised by the extent of his own power. His powerful spell sends books scattering, a triumphant "now you're listening" escaping him. As the dust settles, he surveys the chaotic aftermath, a small, white, furry creature with glowing eyes emerging from the debris. Both the young mage and the curious creature exchange surprised glances. Before he lets out a dismissive humph, looking down at Lista, who lies amidst the scattered tomes, uttering a single, exasperated word, "High spend." It was then, a narrator explains, that he truly took interest in her, a mysterious, wrapped figure appearing in his thoughts, glowing with an ethereal blue light. Lista, now composed, introduces herself as Lista Alter, stating she hails from the south. The two shake hands, and she confesses to being a fake magician of the Orthodox Church. She had asked him to join her in a desperate fight against the encroaching void that threatened to consume their world, wanting him to join her hero party, which already boasted 2 other well-known members. The subject of their discussion, the void, is a terrifying entity, and the conqueror of the fire dragon, the one who defeated it, is a figure of immense power. Yet, a faint voice echoes, pleading, "I don't want to die." Lista, still trying to recruit him, is asked by Rin if her other 2 party members are as amazing as she is. To which she admits they're actually somewhat disappointed, like her, but there's something far more important than both of them. Confused, Rin simply asks, "What?" Lista declares with a confident thumbs up, "The world. The very world itself, glowing with ethereal light, is what truly matters." As someone who had once fought the void and focused solely on strengthening himself, Rin had defeated countless such threats, possessing the rare soul of one who had already reached the end of the world. They had told him that by the 7th age, he would be able to save the world, and he had yearned to reach a peak no one else had ever achieved. Living his current life, learning magic, isn't bad either, but a lingering thought suggests there's more to his destiny. He had wanted to master magic, to become the strongest mage in the world, and perhaps even more. Yet, he couldn't help but wonder about the true purpose of his life at this point. His current life, however, was without a clear destination, a path he merely followed, and he found himself pondering the world outside his window. Meanwhile, the warrior Lista, who had sought him out, smiled, recalling her initial encounter with him. For Rin, the offer to join her party was quite a random one, but it was enough to bring him back to the outside world, away from his books. He wasn't burning with the desire to save the world, but he reached for another book, perhaps seeking answers within its pages. Still, the warrior had taken the extended hand of the archer, Kees, who seemed to be discussing the young mage's potential. Rin, meanwhile, walked away, his thoughts still his own, unaware of the conversation happening about him. Kees, still talking to the priestess Pride, explained that Rin was another name for Rain, the legendary conqueror. Pride's eyes widened in shock, a gasp escaping her lips as she realized the true identity of the young man, uttering, "She'd said Rain." A group of 4, their breaths coming in ragged bursts, fought as one against the monstrous threat. After exhaling a puff of smoke, Pride would often let out a triumphant cackle. Lista's boisterous laughter echoed through the air, even as the creature before them roared in defiance. Her mirth was infectious, a clear sign of their dominance. Together, the four companions stood, a formidable force against any foe. Yet, even with their combined strength, the individual skills of Keese and Pride were undeniable. A concentrated blast of green energy erupted, striking the monster and eliciting a pained shriek as it recoiled. Another powerful, yellow-hued attack followed, sealing its fate. A monstrous, shadowy figure with glowing green eyes looms, its massive claws extended, as a younger Rin looks up, remembering a time when they were strong. Yet, the black magic of the creature proved too potent, its overwhelming mana pushing them to their limits, even as Lista charged forward, wreathed in fiery red energy. Keese, refusing to yield, drew his bow, launching a lightning-infused arrow that streaked with vibrant yellow energy, a desperate act in a battle he couldn't have given up on. Pride, too, unleashed her power, binding the monstrous foe with shimmering blue chains of magic. The memory of that overwhelming power and the feeling of leaving his comrades behind still haunted him. In the midst of the chaos, Lista, defiant against a multi-eyed beast, declared she would rip it to shreds, with Rin standing protectively behind her. Later, around a crackling campfire, Rin looked to Lista, asking if she wanted to go on an adventure with them once their current quest was over. His thoughts drifted to a monstrous, dragon-like creature as he mused aloud about Lista's naivety, fearing she might fall for deceptive words. A somber silence fell between Rin and Lista, their expressions reflecting a shared, unspoken burden. He remembers the day black magic tore through his very soul, a day he left his comrades behind. His companions, Keese and Pride, were there, but it was Lista's terrified face that haunted him most. Her cries echoed through the years, and just like that, 5 years passed. One day, on his way to the academy, he heard from travelers about a village no one could enter, a place where he would face his past. He could still hear their screams, begging him to turn back, but the scent of innocent blood had driven him to attack the black magic. Before the fall, she had pleaded with him, "Save me." He knew then that he was born from a great sorrow that consumed him at his core, a sorrow that now manifested as a faint glow around his hand. His life, he felt, would end soon, surrounded by his distressed companions. As his eyes began to glow with an ominous power, Pride's desperate voice cut through the chaos, urging him, "Rin, wake up. Do it. Pride, please. Do something." The day black magic tore through his soul, a memory resurfaces, showing Pride and Keese looking on with deep concern. He remembers leaving his comrades behind, a pained expression etched across his face as he looks down, lost in the past. Pride, her face contorted with worry, whispers that she can't do this, while Lista watches on, equally distressed. A harsh cough escapes Rin, his body racked with pain, yet his companions urge him not to worry, their voices filled with desperate hope. Despite the torment, he extends a hand, manifesting a glowing blue symbol on his palm, surrounded by dark, swirling energy. He had made this. It was a divine shield of his very soul, a spell he could only cast from the depths of his heart, a desperate measure born of necessity. This magic, once fully activated, would cure his body after passing through a dormant state, a painful transformation for a chance at survival. But the cost was immense, as blood trickles from his mouth, the dark energy still swirling around his outstretched hand. He didn't know how much it would take to save his life, as blue energy cracks around him, and he finally collapses under the strain. He knew, deep down, that this was the only path left to take. As a crystalline barrier began to form, a faint crack echoed through the silence. Lista, her eyes squeezed shut in anguish, knew she couldn't go back, no matter what. Lying on the cold ground, Rin reflected on his desperate resolve. He had made a choice to win. A tear escaped Lista's closed eyes, a silent plea for the promise he had made. He had promised to see her again. Their clasped hands were a testament to that vow, a fragile hope in the face of an uncertain future. As the crystalline structure solidified around him, Rin could almost hear her voice, asking if he was truly coming back. His gaze hardened, a silent resolve burning within him. Then, surrounded by the shimmering ice, he remembered the bond shared between the four of them. A pained expression crosses Pride's face, her voice echoing a desperate plea, wondering if they shouldn't have grown old together, as the day he faced black magic tore through his very soul. Lista, her own eyes welling with tears, could only manage a soft, questioning sound. As Rin, encased in shimmering ice, heard her promise to stay by his side until he woke up. But looking out at the desolate, burning horizon, he knew he couldn't make that promise in return. By sacrificing himself, he could save the lives of his comrades. He finally left the four of them behind, becoming a soul, his consciousness a mere fragment of his former self. And in this new form, he became the guardian of the divine realm. His eyes, now filled with the weight of his new existence, stared into an unseen distance. A hand reached out, perhaps for what was lost, or for what still remained. He remembers the day black magic tore through his very soul, a sacrifice made as he left his comrades behind. The dark, chaotic energy swirled around him, consuming him entirely. Meanwhile, the screeching military dragon had already approached, forcing his friends to fight desperately. Keese loosed an arrow, Lista swung her blade, and Pride unleashed a spell, their combined efforts a desperate stand against the encroaching darkness. The battlefield erupted in a maelstrom of magic and shadows, a chaotic clash against the dark entities. Their journey, which should have ended happily, had already concluded, and he remembered leaving his comrades behind, his hand reaching out as they fought on. Then, only darkness remained, and by the time he was able to open his eyes, he found himself lying in a strange place, bathed in a brilliant, ethereal light. His eyes remained closed, a deep slumber holding him. Slowly, they begin to flutter open, a sliver of light piercing the darkness. As they fully reveal themselves, a startling crimson glow emanates from his irises. A familiar voice breaks through the haze, asking if Rain is all right. As Pride gently places a hand on his shoulder, her gaze filled with worry. He turns to face her, his expression still distant and bewildered. A single word echoes in his mind, "Mother?" leaving Pride to wonder aloud about his strange question, knowing he was an orphan. Suddenly, a sharp crash jolts him, his hand instinctively flying to his ear. He drifts in a void of confusion, his mind a blank slate as he gazes up at an unfamiliar sky. A single thought pierces the fog, leaving him to wonder, where am I? The next moment, he finds himself amidst a bustling crowd in a vibrant town, his eyes now covered by a blindfold, the world around him a cacophony of unknown sounds. Standing in a bustling town square, a man with long, dark hair remarks that they have arrived at the hero's square, the heart of the Holy See. Rin, his gaze distant, acknowledges the statement, his mind already drifting to the weight of the past. A quiet solemnity settles over him. As he approaches a grand monument, the memories begin to surface. He sees them again, his former comrades, Lista, Keese, Pride, and Sung Il, standing beside him. A formidable team ready to face any challenge, their youthful faces filled with hope and determination. The names etched into the stone confirm his recollection, a stark reminder of their shared past, including his own name, Rin, among the fallen. He stands before the memorial, a silent sentinel to a bygone era. He stands before the monument, the names of his fallen comrades etched into the stone, when a sudden, unsettling thought grips him. Turning abruptly to a nearby woman, he asks, his voice laced with an unfamiliar urgency, what year it is, startling her with his intensity. His eyes wide with a dawning horror, he presses her again for the date. The woman, taken aback by his distress, replies that it is the Persian year 1418. The number echoes in his mind, a chilling realization beginning to set in. A faint purple aura begins to emanate from his body as he confirms the date, his mind racing to comprehend the impossible. The strange sensation intensifies, a disorienting feeling washing over him, leaving him to wonder what profound event could have led to such a drastic shift. His thoughts drift to the cherished memories of his comrades, Lista's laughter, Keese's jokes, and Pride's carefree smile, a stark contrast to his current, bewildering reality. The horrifying truth dawns on him with crushing weight. All of those precious moments, all of his life as he knew it, were now 3 centuries in the past. Lost in thought, he wonders if his comrades had won the final battle, though he knows it's a futile question. Standing before a magnificent statue, he acknowledges that the heroes of that era were unquestionably victorious, which is why the monument stands so grand. A memory of Pride speaks to him, anticipating his thoughts, saying, "Dear Rin, you are probably wondering what happened to us. Anyone would be shocked to hear." With a faint, melancholic smile, he simply responds, "I see." He reflects on his own self-reliance, believing he doesn't need anyone's help, yet a poignant memory surfaces of Lista, who had protected his side until the day she passed away. Pride's memory continues, her voice tinged with sorrow. "It's truly a beautiful, but sad fate. Isn't that right?" He struggles with the fading images, unable to fully recognize her face, and questions why he's being told such a sad story. His red eyes glow with intense emotion. As he recalls thinking that Lista would keep her promise, a voice from a memory calls out his name, Rain, pulling him back to a moment in time. A promise, once held sacred, now echoes in the vast emptiness of his mind. He reaches out, a desperate gesture towards something just beyond his grasp. The weight of that broken promise crushes him, bringing tears to his eyes as the memory fades. A promise that was irrevocably broken. He doesn't know what his comrades might have said about him, but in this new era, he has become a legend in history, his red eyes glowing faintly as he reflects on his past. He hears Lista's voice, recounting how the Empire honored the great mage with memorials and how countless noble families revered him as a saint. Yet, after 3 centuries, what remained of that past? Only magic. His own recollections of those days were filled with tragedies. Those events had transformed into legends, not cherished memories. One day, Lista had observed, memories aren't truly fond unless they're shared with someone. But that meant his own emotions were still unresolved until his death, and even beyond. Less memories alone, he muses, as they're essentially echoes that don't send back. He holds his teacup, lost in thought. Across from him, Pride watches with a gentle expression. They're gone now, he thinks, the weight of absence heavy on him. However, they left behind this world alone. Then what am I supposed to do now? He wonders, the question hanging in the air like the steam from his cup. He continues to ponder, a small, almost forgotten gesture of approval flashing in his mind. Right, he concludes, his red eye reflecting a newfound resolve. A golden light begins to emanate, signaling a shift within him. He still has something left to do. His thoughts drift to the sacred human empire, which once held dominion over 7 islands. Within this empire, mages were ranked from 1-star common mages like Vanaran, all the way up to 7-star grand sages, the divine sages. He remembers his own journey, reaching the final peak of the 5th star, a level of power that few could comprehend. From the 6th star onward, they were known as sages, with only 2 individuals in the empire's entire history ever reaching that pinnacle, those who truly knew the end of the truth. He himself had reached the 6th star by the time he grew old. Despite the pain of his choices, he knows he would have regretted it his whole life if he hadn't made them. Even if someone could turn back time for him, he would choose to leave his companions behind again and again for a greater purpose. He remembers Lista's bright smile and her wish. I want this world to be filled with laughter. He recalls a moment from his past, hearing Lista's voice echo. That's what you said, isn't it, Lista? That the world is so desperately tired of the truth she rejected. He remembers walking beside her, knowing that only those who could perceive the truth of magic, those who could see beyond the veil of illusion, could truly grasp the real world. And so, in this life, he had resolved to become a 7-star mage, a goal that demanded everything. He recalls another voice, Pride's, filled with concern. I'll push myself to my limits, but this flower field is too dangerous, Rin. Pride's expression was etched with alarm, her words a stark warning. She continued, her voice strained. For a good reason, I'm not going to take a single step further. This flower field is too dangerous, Pride. Keese, ever the pragmatist, added his own caution. I'd rather rely on magic than look at these. Rin, looking surprised, questioned, what's so special about this flower field? He remembers standing with Pride, Keese, and Sung Il, the glowing flower field stretching before them, each step a deliberate choice, a path he had to walk, even if it meant leaving them behind. He gazes upward, a quiet resolve settling over his features as the last echoes of his past fade into the vibrant sunset. With a final, silent farewell, he releases the last vestiges of what was, watching them dissipate into shimmering particles. The living must move with the flow of time, and so he turns his back on the memories, stepping forward into an uncertain future. He must step forward toward the future. His silhouette recedes down the bustling city street, a solitary figure embarking on a new path. With that, his second life began. He looks up at the sky, a quiet question hanging in the air, wondering if he truly wanted to be saved. A somber realization washes over him. He doesn't even know his own face, having grown up in an orphanage in Illyria. The thought of his family brings only confusion, leaving him to wonder how he could possibly know anything about them. Lista, standing beside him, offers a blunt but comforting truth. She doesn't know how to tell him either. For her, family isn't a necessity, and there's no need to complicate things, Rin. He looks away, absorbing her words, as she advises him to simply cherish those around him, even if he finds her a bit odd. A gentle smile graces Lista's face, confident that he will come to love them. The next morning, a soft voice breaks the silence, wishing the young master a good day as he slowly awakens. As the morning light filters into his room, a maid approaches the still sleepy Rin, announcing that breakfast is being prepared now that he is awake. Stretching out the last vestiges of sleep, he lets out a soft groan. His bare feet touch the cool floor. And he looks forward with a thoughtful expression, his crimson eyes reflecting a deep, ancient wisdom. It has been 20 days since he found himself inhabiting the body of a 10-year-old boy, and in just 2 years, he had already mastered magic. Magic, which had once failed him in his previous life, was now his to command. He had been an overpowered mage, the young master of the magic tower, the only one who could use magic freely, and as a result, he was now accustomed to this new existence. He had to live the rest of his life in this new form, a reality he had come to accept. Later, as he prepares for the day, the maid greets him warmly, surprised he is already up. His mother's voice then rings out, expressing delight that he is awake, mentioning his father and the king's fondness for him, to which he simply replies, "Yes, mother." The morning light streams into a grand study, where a distinguished man named Karen Ludwig sits at a desk, while Rin stands by a large window, lost in thought. Noticing the boy's distant demeanor, Karen Ludwig addresses him, asking if he slept well, noting his tired appearance. He gently places a hand on Rin's head, suggesting he must still be weary from his recent journey. Rin, however, turns to him with a troubled expression, confessing his suspicion that his father, mother, and even Karen Ludwig himself are all keeping secrets from him, though he quickly dismisses it as paranoia. Karen Ludwig simply smiles, deflecting the question, and asks about Rin's father instead. The conversation shifts to a document on the desk, a complex magical text that Rin studies intently, wondering if it truly represents magic. Karen Ludwig confirms it, adding that a magic conference is scheduled for the following week, which makes him anxious. Rin, still focused on his studies, declares that eating now would break his concentration, preferring to work early in the morning when his mind is sharpest. Karen Ludwig observes the boy's intense focus on the magical text, wondering if he's struggling with a particular section. Offering assistance, Karen Ludwig asks if he should help, but Rin firmly declines, stating his desire to comprehend the magic entirely on his own. He pores over the ancient texts, a question forming in his mind. What is the solution to this complex problem? After diligent study, he finally uncovers the hidden answers, realizing he can now reach the end of the lab and apply the intricate formulas. A hidden formula, long lost to time, reveals itself within the pages. This was an ancient magic, so profound that even the Empire's most skilled magicians had failed to decipher it. Yet it was merely concealed within the basic magical principles from 2 centuries past. Rin's mastery of countless formulas allowed him to create spells like floods and fireballs with unbelievable progression, leading Karen Ludwig to observe that based on his current learning, he was already an advanced mage. Though alone, he could only aspire to be a 4-star mage. As the butler holds a book, Rin's eyes glow with an intense, crimson light, a sign of his burgeoning power. He possessed no ordinary human needs, neither hunger nor thirst, allowing him to immerse himself fully in his studies, even at breakfast. His life was solitary, devoid of parents or even a sister. Yet, a small figure, Barry, would often peek through his doorframe, calling out to him. With her pitch-black hair and striking red eyes, she shared an undeniable resemblance to him. But just as quickly as she appeared, the little girl would scurry away, leaving the door ajar. Rin stands by a grand, arched window, gazing out at the world beyond his quiet study. His mind drifts, however, to a past shrouded in darkness, a memory of black magic tearing through his soul, of leaving comrades behind, and the crushing weight of not even being able to recall their faces, convinced it was his own weakness that led to their demise. Back in the present, he sits amidst towering bookshelves, lost in the pages of a book. Yet the echoes of a voice still resonate, urging him to cherish those around him, calling out his name with a desperate plea. He reaches for another volume, the quiet rustle of pages a stark contrast to the turmoil within. Later, the stern voice of Karen Ludwig cuts through the silence, questioning his choice of potion, to which Rin simply affirms his belief in its efficacy. Turning his attention to Barry, he offers to teach her magic, his words carrying a quiet resolve. The young girl, however, lingers by the doorway, a pensive expression clouding her face as she watches him. A soft question hangs in the air, and Rin responds, asking if she wishes to play with him. With a quick dash, Barry hurries out of the room, leaving him alone. He sits quietly, his legs dangling as he contemplates the recent conversation. A soft tapping sound echoes as he considers Barry's words, wondering if she truly understands the weight of magic. He then reaches for a book, a tome on magic, perhaps, to illustrate his point. As he shows her the intricate formulas within, Barry asks if he's always reading such books, to which he simply replies, no. A faint sniff escapes him as he gazes out the window, his thoughts drifting to the true nature of magic and its cost. His mind flashes back to a desolate landscape, to the day he faced black magic tearing through his soul, surrounded by his comrades. Lista, Keese, Pride, and Sung Il, their faces grim amidst the chaos. The memory shifts, revealing the painful truth. He left his comrades behind, a younger Lista looking down at him from a perilous cliff edge. He was always grumbling because Lista treated him like a kid, but to be honest, he cherished those moments. Turning his attention back to the present, Rin points to a passage in the book, asking Barry which part she doesn't understand, as she eagerly confirms her confusion. With a nod, he begins to explain, detailing that magic is a phenomenon where internal mana converts into external energy. He elaborates, stating that the properties of magic are determined by the magic stone, so a flame stone yields fire property. Opening a large, ancient tome, he continues, explaining that a wind stone creates wind magic, which is why the book he holds focuses on 10 wind property spells, eliciting an amazed whoa from Barry. Next, he moves on to runes, explaining that these symbols determine the effect of the magic, acting as the commands themselves. He illustrates with an example, showing how drawing a triangular rune creates fire magic, specifically fire property, binding magic. As he finishes his explanation, Barry looks up at him with wide, confused eyes, uttering a simple, bewildered question. What's math? He remains lost in thought, pondering the complexities of magic, while Barry looks up at him, clearly confused by the silence. Breaking the quiet, he continues his lesson, explaining the necessity of fire-type runes for fire magic, before pivoting to the more fundamental mana subtraction theory. Meanwhile, Karen observes the young master, noting how much he has changed, no longer avoiding the smaller details of teaching and no longer acting as a lone wolf. Rin's mother, witnessing his dedication, lets out a soft gasp of surprise. She then expresses her profound joy, wishing to preserve the precious moment forever. Embracing him tightly, she declares her desire to hold onto this memory for all eternity. However, her expression shifts as she acknowledges that given Barry's current state, teaching her will be difficult, but, undeterred, Rin continues to teach Barry magic, holding regular lessons since his return from the dungeon. He looks down, a new concern dawning on him, wondering if Barry could possibly mean that kind of math. Karen Ludwig dismisses the idea, believing it unlikely, yet Rin's mother suggests it might be true, like a son, adding that perhaps she once harbored a similar thought to Rain. He reflects on his own past, recalling that he was the one who taught Rain when he was a child, but even then, despite his genius, he couldn't achieve it. Perhaps Rain himself had come to the same conclusion. Meanwhile, Rin's mother marvels at her son's rapid growth, noting how he just became a mage and is already teaching, overwhelmed with pride for him. Karen Ludwig, however, admits he doesn't know any further details about the situation. He then confesses a past fear, recalling something unsettling from the ice cave, as Rin's mother listens with concern. With a determined gaze, Karen Ludwig utters a single command: activate. Rin's mother, now alone, gazes into the distance, a profound regret echoing in her thoughts that she should have left her. She laments that she was left with no choice, forced into becoming a monster. Her hand reaches out, a silent message to a friend who is far, far away. Rin's mother looks down, her expression thoughtful, as Karen Ludwig confirms that there is indeed something he needs to tell her. He continues, reflecting on the past, that only one person could have reached the peak of a sage, and that Rin had been studying with a magic square for only 1 year. Rin's mother, surprised, asks if he truly thinks her son is a genius, to which Karen Ludwig replies that Rin had already mastered the magic square that very morning, and wonders if that's why he skipped breakfast. Karen Ludwig confirms his genius, adding that it may be frightening, but he is already transforming the family magic. He continues, explaining that Rin, even at his young age, is already capable of reading and writing spells that are only permitted to the Grand Mage, a feat that is truly unprecedented. The cloaked figure of Rin stands amidst a swirling red aura, as Karen Ludwig concludes that Rin's abilities are simply beyond comprehension. Rin's mother, her concern evident, asks how much he thinks Rin will be able to handle, and if his path will be difficult. Karen Ludwig, a thoughtful expression on his face, simply replies, "Indeed," before adding that he has an idea. Under a vast, pure blue sky, a field of vibrant blue flowers stretches across the rolling hills, creating a truly beautiful vista. This serene landscape is known as the beautiful area of the renowned magician, Lista. Rin lies peacefully amidst the blossoms, enjoying the awesome weather. To become a 7-star magician, he knows this is all he has to do, for he needs a powerful soul to grow stronger, and the path he has chosen is perfect in that sense. A darker memory flashes, reminding him he can't waste any time, for once he's deemed useless, he'll be found. A soft rustle of paper breaks the silence as he meticulously draws. His younger sister, Barry, approaches him, asking what he's done. He explains he was just about to summon a goblin here, prompting her surprised question. As he prepared the summoning, a small voice piped up, asking if she could join him. A wide grin spread across his face as he lay back in the grass, a feeling of pure joy washing over him. His little sister, equally thrilled, bounced with delight. He watched her, a soft smile playing on his lips, noting how truly happy she seemed. Later, sitting beside her, he pondered his own peculiar speech, which seemed impeded for a 6-year-old, and the odd mix-up in his grammar and multiple personas. As the magic circle began to crackle with energy, a vibrant blue light pulsed from its depths. A powerful surge of magic erupted, accompanied by loud sparks. From the center of the circle, a towering pillar of light shot skyward, leaving his sister utterly awestruck. A sharp, internal cry of frustration escapes him as the magical energy settles, realizing he had used the opposite type of magic. The ground beneath them wobbles slightly, leaving both him and his younger sister looking utterly shocked by the unexpected outcome. He tries to reassure her, or perhaps himself, muttering that he supposes he isn't very good at this, admitting it's his first time. A single tear traces a path down his cheek, as the full weight of his mistake sinks in, the swirling magical residue below him a testament to his miscalculation. With a soft humph, the two of them sit on the ground, observing the unexpected result of the ritual. He extends a hand towards the small, glowing form, gently calling out, "Come here, Ludian," explaining that it's an ancient word meaning guide. His sister gasps, a delighted woe, escaping her lips as the crystalline, butterfly-like spirit flutters closer, captivating them both. The delicate spirit, formed of shimmering blue ice, gently lands in the palm of his outstretched hand. Observing the creature, he concludes that it must be a spirit, and his sister expresses her relief that he didn't summon a demon or, worse, another golem into the middle of their house. Rin observes the small, glowing spirit, reflecting on the unexpected outcome of his summoning ritual, realizing that in other worlds, this would be a sign of great talent. Holding the delicate creature in his palm, he asks it, "Do you like it?" His younger sister, Barry, approaches, nodding enthusiastically as she gazes at the spirit, seemingly approving of the new addition. With a gentle suggestion, Rin tells her to go study, turning away from the spirit and his sister. He then focuses on a holographic interface, acknowledging the need to understand his newly acquired magic power, which the system begins calculating. He decides to call the spirit Ludian, an ancient word for guide, before the system displays his current magic power. The interface reveals his magic power to be 3,204, a number that, despite its magnitude, is accompanied by a cryptic message suggesting it's worse than something. He stares at the system's assessment of his magical arithmetic ability, which remains an unknown quantity, knowing he has much to learn about his unique situation, especially as a new skill related to bloodline-restricted magic is detected and offered for acquisition. As the system interface continued its analysis, a single, glowing red eye filled his vision, highlighting the ominous words, bloodline-restricted magic. A thoughtful hum escaped him as he considered the implications, realizing this body might not be trash after all. But then, a memory surfaced, a distant echo from a time when he faced black magic tearing through his soul, a memory of a young mage who came to find him. This young mage, standing before Lista and Keese, had declared with unwavering confidence. He said he would be the strongest mage in the Empire. He had even boasted of taking their place in the party, his fire magic flaring with youthful arrogance. However, when they finally met, the reality was stark. They were nothing more than mere acquaintances. And so, he had left his comrades behind, walking away from the two adventurers. For him, they were not anything more, as an explosion erupted behind him. But his eye, glowing with an otherworldly light, was something else entirely. The day he faced black magic tearing through his very soul, the brown-haired mage stood with his comrades, Lista and Keese, amidst a fiery, chaotic landscape. And in that moment of profound realization, he made the difficult choice to leave his comrades behind. With that power, Rin was able to completely shut out the black magic, his form now wreathed in a vibrant blue aura as he faced the inferno. He continued to deliver counterattacks, his blue energy clashing against the fiery onslaught. This ability allowed him to discern the opponent's magical flow, predicting the type of magic they would use. When two magic abilities were evenly matched, the one who could deliver more counters would inevitably gain the upper hand. Now, with a blue glow emanating from his eye, Rin finally understood that this was the true power of his bloodline-restricted magic. It was a dance of anticipation and reaction, a constant exchange of offensive and defensive maneuvers. But he quickly corrected himself, realizing that bloodline was merely a word. It was a power he hadn't been able to use simply because he hadn't known how. He understands now why the Ludwig family is also known as the Eyeing Mages. It's all because of those unique eyes. He finally comprehends the true meaning behind the term. Later, while on a call, he finds himself surrounded by his companions, including Barry and the butler, Karen Ludwig. Karen Ludwig addresses him, asking if he's interested in their bloodline-restricted magic. He finds the question a bit premature, yet still asks if he could be taught. Karen Ludwig suggests consulting his father, but then clarifies that he will be in charge for a while and will teach him himself once he returns. Rin, seemingly confused by a name mentioned, asks who Ellen is. He listens intently as Karen Ludwig explains that Ellen is a magically skilled researcher who once taught students at the academy, adding that she is also his elder nephew and not someone he should be unfamiliar with. Karen Ludwig clarifies that he met her once when he was 6 years old. A click of realization echoes in his mind, leaving him utterly bewildered. Meanwhile, a young woman with long, dark hair strides confidently through a grand hall, her expression one of casual indifference. She looks down at Rin, who sits on the floor amidst scattered books, a hint of disdain in her gaze. Her sharp, red glowing eye narrows slightly, as she dismisses the situation as utterly absurd. The genius Professor Ellen Ludwig throws her hands up in exasperation, annoyed by the constant mention of her title. A sudden grasp of understanding dawns on Rin, as he realizes the implications of her identity. Ellen Ludwig stands over the kneeling boy, her voice cutting through the silence as she asks if he knows who she is. Declaring herself Ellen Ludwig, the great sister of the Ludwig family, she makes it clear that she teaches foolish students who don't listen immediately. With a sharp gaze, Rin acknowledges her words, confirming his understanding of what she has taught him. And so, the bloodline-restricted magic lessons began, unfolding under the vast, starry expanse. During these intense lessons, he slowly regained the fragmented memories of his past life, realizing with a jolt that he was Rin, the Grand Mage. Later, in the quiet solitude of the library, a faint, crackling energy emanates from him, a sign of the power stirring within. Suddenly, his eyes blaze with a fierce red glow, and vibrant crimson particles erupt around him, signaling a powerful, uncontrolled surge. Clutching his head, the pain is evident as he struggles with this overwhelming sensation, the raw power threatening to tear him apart. Rin continued his studies, poring over ancient texts that detailed the very essence of magic. Meanwhile, Ellen, with a playful flourish, demonstrated a complex spell, eliciting a surprised gasp from him. She then challenged him, her voice laced with amusement, declaring that even he couldn't cast such magic simultaneously. Undeterred, Rin scoffed at her words, determined to prove her wrong as he attempted the difficult feat, while she merely chuckled at his youthful bravado. Ellen, holding up a stack of scrolls, explained that the magic was more about theoretical analysis than raw power. He absorbed her words, realizing the magic was deeply tied to the Ludwig family's founder, a lineage-restricted ability that made it far more complex than it appeared. The strain of attempting such a restricted spell overwhelmed him, causing him to collapse into the arms of a nearby guard, his body unable to handle the magical backlash. Later, Ellen confronted him about his reluctance to fully commit, but he insisted he simply didn't want to overdo it, to which she retorted that doing nothing was far worse. Taking her words to heart, Rin bowed respectfully, thanking her for her guidance and declaring his intention to continue his training on his own. He stands quietly by the window, observing the room, while Ellen sits absorbed at the desk. Suddenly, she looks up, a slight smirk playing on her lips as she asks, "Wait, what? Are you saying you don't need my guidance? Don't be so presumptuous." Her words trail off, a knowing look in her eyes. "Since whatever you do." He continues to write diligently, the scratching of his pen filling the silence, as she reaches out, playfully asserting, "Not that it'll work." He then retorts, "I know, you're black outside. You can't come in and help." With a soft scratch of his pen, he settles into the desk, Ellen now standing behind him, overseeing his work. He continues his focused writing, while she, nearby, immerses herself in a book, the quiet sounds of study filling the room. A thoughtful hum escapes him as he ponders his next words. Before he swiftly presents a completed paper to her, a soft swish of the page accompanying the gesture. Both now lean over the desk, their eyes scanning the document, the faint scratch of a pen still audible. As the paper slides across the polished surface, Ellen Ludwig begins her review of Rin's completed work, turning the pages with a soft rustle, while he watches her every move, awaiting her judgment. Lost in thought, she pauses, gazing out the window, the weight of his research settling upon her. The memory of his tireless effort flashes through his mind, the constant scratching of his pen against paper, a focused hum escaping him as he delved deeper into his studies. Pages flying as his thoughts flowed, his hand moving with furious speed, each stroke a testament to his dedication. Back in the present, Ellen continues her reading, a soft rustle of the pages accompanying her, when a sudden "huh" escapes Rin, his eyes widening in surprise. A look of utter disbelief crosses his face as he mutters, "What the?" From behind a curtain, Ellen Ludwig watches Rin intently, wondering if this moment is a true test of his magical abilities, or if he is merely testing her. Suddenly, a voice announces, "Break time." As Ellen appears visibly exhausted, Rin calls out to her, addressing her by his alias, Rain. He calls out to her again, then, in a different moment, asks his mother, "What is it, mother?" His mother, gushing with affection, tells him he has no idea how adorable Ellen was, admitting that her cuteness made her forget she was even a teacher, and speculates that Ellen is probably testing him in all sorts of ways. She reiterates her point, emphasizing that he truly has no idea how adorable Ellen was, and questions if the very definition of adorable has changed. A soft scratching sound fills the air as a thought crosses his mind. Has the definition of adorable truly changed in the last 300 years? Back in the study, Ellen and Rin are now seated together at the desk, both engrossed in their reading. As Ellen continues to read intently, Rin's eyes widen in profound surprise, reacting to something unexpected within the pages. He lets out a soft whistle, his fingers deftly flipping through the pages of the dense textbook. A sigh escapes him, finding the material to be such a bother, even more annoying than his younger sister, Barry. Suddenly, a sharp flinch overtakes him as he hears the voice of his Aunt Ellen. He holds out the book, admitting he has no idea what the passage means and asks if she can explain it to him. Ellen lets out a frustrated scream, exclaiming that Rin is just like her younger sister, Barry. She pushes a different book towards him, telling him he has to solve it himself and get the answer right away. Rin protests, asking why she doesn't know the answer, to which she retorts that he doesn't know anything and questions what he's done with his life for the past 9 years. He argues that it's not fair and challenges her to try it herself, while she insists he should just get the answer right away, dismissing his complaints. Rin's eyes glowed with an intense crimson light, a complex web of magical energy swirling around him as he exclaimed in disbelief. Realizing that Ellen's rigorous lessons, though challenging, had allowed him to focus and drastically shorten the time needed for the ritual of life's experience, a process that had been like this the entire time, with papers swirling around him as he absorbed the knowledge. Now, with his vision transformed, he could perceive the intricate flow of mana and the very mortality of the world. All the black magic he had once only glimpsed in his mind now laid bare before him. It was in that moment that his red eyes truly began to perceive the world's mortality. Everything was suddenly clear, the flow of mana, the world's mortality, and the black magic he had seen in his head, all visible and comprehensible. As magical symbols swirled around him, he pondered the true nature of magic, a question that now seemed to have a tangible answer. He could see it all, realizing that the magic he once knew had seemed like mere numbers to the rookie magician he had been, a stark contrast to his current profound understanding. Ellen Ludwig, observing his transformation, simply uttered his name, her expression a mix of awe and disbelief. She confirmed his success, her voice laced with astonishment, wondering how he had achieved such a feat in just 10 days. Even after mastering the special magic, the path to true power remained arduous. It had taken him 7 years to reach this point, yet they claimed it would take another decade just to obtain 5-star magic. But he had done it in just 10 days, and he could even cast multi-calculative spells. He was able to cast complex spells despite starting with a blank slate, a genius perhaps equal to the greatest. Rin, who was already known as the prince of multi-calculative magic, continued to astound those around him. Observing the young prodigy, a man mused, "This kid." He corrected himself, a soft smile playing on his lips. "No, he's my son. He acknowledged the boy's incredible talent, thinking, "It's respectable, dude." A bittersweet realization washed over him as he admitted, "I'm his father, but there's nothing more I can teach him." Young Rin, seated at a grand desk, issues a command. His voice firm, he asks for confirmation. The instruction is clear: a letter must be sent to the prince. Prompting Karen Ludwig, ever the diligent butler, to clarify the recipient. Rin pauses, sensing a hesitation in his father's tone. Karen Ludwig, now visible, sits with a thoughtful expression, revealing the true recipient, his own father. The narration reflects on Rin's extraordinary talent, which has opened up potentials previously unimaginable. Rin reiterates his command for the letter to be sent with utmost politeness, while Karen Ludwig acknowledges his master's unwavering will. With a slight smile, Karen Ludwig confirms his unwavering loyalty to his young master. As a year passed and a new season arrived, the young mage found himself living alone, dedicating every day to the study of magic. It was during this time, as summer approached, that he immersed himself completely in his magical pursuits. During the day, he diligently learned the family magic from Ellen, making it his ultimate goal to master the fundamental principles of magic. That summer proved to be exceptionally busy for him. At night, he would relentlessly train his physical and magical abilities, while also discovering the wonders of Western music through Ellen, an experience that was truly amazing. As someone from the East, it was a completely new and captivating experience for him. His training was complete, yet he knew the situation demanded more power, a strength he had not yet attained. The standards for a 4-star mage had drastically changed over the years, and he remained a mere 3-star. Magic itself evolved with time, making it seemingly impossible to achieve 4-star status in this current age. He needed to become stronger, more knowledgeable. Approaching his father, he made a solemn request. "Father, I have a request." His mother inquired about the nature of his request, to which he replied, "I think 3 years should be enough." Later, his younger sister, Barry, asked if their mother had gone somewhere, and he simply confirmed, "Yeah." He wished to attend the Magic Academy, the Empire's greatest institution for magical study, pleading, "Father, you'll let me go, won't you?" Barry clung to his leg, crying, "Don't go," but he gently pushed her away, his resolve firm. Karen Ludwig, the family butler, reminds Rin to consider his young age, as the boy confirms he is still only 10 years old, before Karen adds that it is far too early for him to leave home. As Rin processes this, his eyes briefly glow with a faint red light. Karen continues, hinting at much more important things on the horizon for him. The young boy looks up, a question forming on his lips, while Karen gazes down at him with a knowing expression. Meanwhile, a hand carefully holds a sealed letter, glowing faintly with magical particles. Ellen Ludwig, holding the letter, reads its contents aloud, announcing it is from "Father, your son," her expression one of surprise. In another part of the house, Rin's mother is seized by a coughing fit, while Barry watches her with deep concern. Back with the letter, Rin asks Ellen if his father sent it, both of them now focused on the mysterious message. Karen gently wipes Barry's mouth, as Rin observes the tender moment between them. Barry then looks up at Karen, addressing him as grandfather, a revelation that leaves Rin looking utterly surprised. He recalls a pivotal day, a memory of black magic tearing through his soul, and the curious eyes of those from the Ludwig family, realizing that only 3 of them possessed such a gaze, and that one of them was him. A deep contemplation settles over him, the swirling energy of his thoughts mirroring the magic he seeks to understand. When suddenly, a realization dawns, a spark of understanding igniting within him as he grasps the concept of a developed magic core, a path to finally mastering Ludwig's power. Karen Ludwig, the butler, then questions him, asking if his grandfather had promised to teach him these very curious eyes, a notion that visibly startles the young man. Nearby, Ellen Ludwig and Rin's mother observe the young man, Ellen beginning to address him. But his mind is elsewhere, dismissing the idea of a grandfather as a mistake. Later, the grand estate stands silent under the afternoon sky, a carriage waiting patiently. As he departs from the manor, casting a glance back at the imposing structure. With a new resolve, he decides he has other matters to attend to, planning to greet someone first. He walks away from the estate, his steps echoing softly in the empty hallway. Pausing by a large window, he gazes out, perhaps contemplating his next move. Meanwhile, an elderly man with kind eyes and neatly combed white hair observes something unseen, a faint smile playing on his lips. Suddenly, a surge of raw power erupts from Ellen Ludwig's hand, glowing with an intense red light. With a low, resonant hum, she presses her palm down, and the crimson energy expands rapidly, crackling with unseen force. But the power proves too much, sending her reeling backward with a heavy thud. The sudden magical discharge causes a nearby bottle to rattle and swish, its contents sloshing violently. Her eyes, now glowing a furious red, widen in shock and confusion as a metallic clang echoes through the room. Enveloped in a blinding flash of crimson energy, she grapples with the overwhelming power, questioning her own thoughts and the source of this sudden, uncontrollable magic. Rin's hands glow with an intense blue light, forming intricate magical talismans, his eyes burning crimson. Channeling the surging power, he declares his intent to block an unseen attack. A wave of blue energy erupts from him, slamming into the white-haired man, who is thrown backward amidst crackling red lightning. A low thrumming sound fills the air as Rin's eyes glow with a fierce red light, a crackling energy beginning to coalesce around his hands, manifesting into two distinct, glowing blue constructs. He manipulates the swirling blue energy with a swift swoosh, his expression a mixture of concentration and surprise. Staring at his hands, he lets out a soft, surprised, "Whoa." The young mage then identifies the constructs, realizing, this is ice cubes. Meanwhile, Karen Ludwig watches from the shadows, his own eyes glowing with a subtle red light, a hooded figure observing the display. His gaze intense, he remarks with a knowing smirk, "It's easy to control as I wish." Rin looks back, a thoughtful expression on his face, processing the implications of the butler's words. A playful challenge hangs in the air as Karen Ludwig asks if he also wishes to join in, to which Rin eagerly affirms his desire. As a soft whoosh of energy emanates from him, Karen Ludwig closes his eyes, a faint red glow briefly illuminating them as he processes the magical signature. Letting out a soft sigh, he then inquires about Rin's current abilities. Rin admits he can barely manifest a single 3-star magic spell, a fact he quickly corrects to not even that, which elicits a surprised and somewhat shocked reaction from Karen Ludwig. Despite the low rank, Karen Ludwig acknowledges the significant amount of magic power Rin possesses, though he cautions that given his current level, there is still a long way to go. A determined blue aura flares around Rin, as he defiantly questions if reaching that goal is truly impossible. Bowing deeply to his grandfather, Rin implores him to teach the way to the end of that arduous road. He understands that training under Karen Ludwig will be incredibly difficult, but it is the only way to properly learn and grow. With a welcoming smile, Karen Ludwig greets Rin, inviting him for tea after his long journey, acknowledging his return to the Ludwig clan. The day he faced black magic tearing through his soul, he left his comrades behind, but now, under the stern gaze of Karen Ludwig, the true ordeal began. The elder mage looked down upon the young man, ready to push him to his limits. A heavy impact sent him sprawling to the ground, the force echoing with a dull thud. As he struggled to rise, magic crackled violently around him. "You need to learn how to handle the magic power you have," Karen Ludwig's voice commanded, as Rin was once again knocked down. Now, quickly. Lying on the cold earth, he heard the relentless questions. "Magic? Don't make me repeat myself. Are you only going to be able to use your magic in a controlled or activated form? Get a move on." Karen Ludwig, his hands glowing with golden energy, observed his progress, knowing that if he taught Rin one thing, the boy learned 10, a genius who mastered in a week what others took a month to grasp. Now, all that remained was for Rin to learn how to use that magic for the growth of his own power, his eyes burning red with fierce determination as he pushed himself to his limits. For in training, one grows faster if one stakes their very life. He holds a small, glowing orb, preparing himself for the next phase of his training, knowing he must find a way to avoid the impending magical assault. His trainer's voice cuts through the air, challenging him. "If you can avoid them, Rin." Responding to the command, he dashes forward with incredible speed. As Karen Ludwig shouts, urging him on, "Now!" Engulfed in a sudden burst of fiery energy, Rin cries out, "Believe me." The magical flames erupt around him in a massive explosion, completely consuming his form. Unfazed, Karen Ludwig continues his instruction, explaining the intricate process. "Faster, Rin. After reaching and analyzing the core of the flame, I'll manipulate the flame and avoid the bell cue." Still engulfed in the raging inferno, he hears Karen Ludwig's urgent call, "Rin." Through the smoke and heat, his eye glows a fierce, vibrant red, a testament to his burgeoning power. The day he faced black magic tearing through his very soul, a profound shift began within him. His vision transformed, revealing the underlying digital structure of the world's magic. Tears streamed down his face as his eyes glowed with an intense red light, the sheer volume of information overwhelming his senses. Even as he was engulfed in a raging inferno, a protective blue sphere of digital code shimmered around him. He realized, with a jolt, that he could actually feel the quidium, the fundamental magical information. The entire world transformed into a sea of numbers and information, all of it transmitted directly to his eyes. His trainer's voice cut through the deluge of data, instructing him to change the quidium before him as he wished. Reaching out his hand, blue energy swirled around his fingertips, ready to reshape reality. The magic around the quidium was not simple triangles, but a complex, change-type algorithm, and the answer to this intricate equation was finally within his grasp. He stands amidst a swirling vortex of blue energy, the complex patterns of quidium manifesting around him. A powerful burst of light erupts from his form, signifying a profound, almost overwhelming, connection to the magical essence. As the ethereal glow fades, Karen Ludwig watches on, his expression unreadable. The intensity of the experience leaves Rin clutching his head, a wave of distress washing over him as the word pupil echoes in his mind. His thoughts drift back to a harsh, snowy past, where a younger version of himself was carried through a desolate landscape by Karen Ludwig. The older man then walked away, leaving the child alone in the vast, silent snow. A young Rin cried out, tears streaming down his face, pleading with his grandfather. Did it work? His grandfather's words echoed, reminding him that he only saw the surface of magic power, a truth that made the child exclaim, I can't believe my eyes. Obtaining Selquias is my. The memory concludes with the thought of a peak he hadn't reached at all, as Karen Ludwig's face appears, a subtle, unsettling smile playing on his lips. Through a desolate, snow-covered landscape, a young boy walks, his footsteps crunching softly on the frozen ground. Beside him, Karen Ludwig offers a quiet observation. Rain, I won't interfere if you choose to live a normal life. His gaze fixed on the young boy, he continues, but when you turn 18, I'll know your decision. The words hang in the cold air as Rin considers them, the magic he perceives feeling like a dull, uninteresting hum. He acknowledges the existence of magic, but finds himself utterly devoid of curiosity for it. His feet continue their rhythmic pace through the snow, his thoughts echoing a profound disinterest. Yet, a deeper, more unsettling question gnaws at him. But there's the letter that was left behind. Aren't you curious about that? As if in response to his unspoken turmoil, a fleeting image of Lister appears, her name a whisper in the back of his mind. His eye widens, reflecting a sudden, profound distress, as the weight of his past and the implications of that letter press down on him. He listens intently as Karen Ludwig explains that no one his age has ever obtained Bell Curious, assuring him that with his abilities, he will soon understand the contents of the letter. At the time, he was simply listening in a dazed shock, but looking back, that moment was truly the beginning. Yes, this is the story of his journey to reclaim the traces of his old comrades. To be continued. With half a year remaining until the plan's initiation, Karen Ludwig asks Rin if he will truly be all right on his own, as the young mage expresses his desire to visit various places before settling down. As Rin prepares to leave, Karen bids him farewell, while Ellen Ludwig adds that his talents are already exceptional, and if he follows the natural path, he shouldn't encounter any danger. Karen then remarks that it's a relief Rin is not like his father, who would have caused trouble even if he were just going to the market, a sentiment echoed by the grand, imposing manner they are leaving behind. Rin, now alone, watches a single red leaf fall to the ground, a quiet moment of reflection. Ellen, still with Karen, expresses her hope that Rin will return safely, her concern evident as they watch him depart. As Rin walks away, the world around him seems to stretch out, vast and full of unknown paths. He wonders if he will be able to call upon these memories someday, or if they will fade into the past, like the fallen leaf. He continued his journey, eventually reaching the southern part of the sacred human empire, a region known as Richland. This particular area was home to the Geranium Village. Within its borders, there were countless merchant groups, all based in the village. An old man, wearing a wide straw hat, greeted him, noting that he didn't look like he was from around here. He then asked if Rin was perhaps a merchant. The old man explained that the founders of their merchant group were once part of a great guild, and that their long history was something to be proud of. He added that they wore their straw hats as a sign of their lineage, asking Rin if he found it fancy. Rin, however, was more concerned about the current state of affairs, asking if there were any issues with the merchant group or the village. The old man confirmed there was a problem. He explained that there was an issue with the narrow road ahead, a path lined with vibrant red flowers. A violent monster had appeared on that trail, and dozens of people were now missing. He listens as an old man explains that the Lord of the Buyers wants them to wait for a hunter squad, fearing the buyers will cause a fuss. As the conversation fades, his mind drifts to the true nature of the threats they face, creatures whose very foundation was changed by black magic, earning them the name monsters. These were not mere beasts, but abominations whose hearts, bodies, and minds were all corrupted by barbaric magic. A memory of a glowing red hand, perhaps his own, flashes through his mind as he recalls the bitter truth. Even the greatest heroes couldn't do anything against such overwhelming corruption. But he vows to be different, to rise above their fate, determined to become a mage who stands at the highest rank, leaving the village behind. He continues his journey under the crescent moon, the red leaves of autumn rustling softly around him. A weariness settles over him, a dazed feeling clouding his senses. Suddenly, a faint light appears in the distance, but he observes that it is not coming towards him. He continues his journey, his thoughts consumed by the low-rank monster he is meant to subjugate, yet he dismisses it as not his concern. His gaze sweeps the horizon, a silent acknowledgement of the path ahead. Confident in the abilities of others, he assumes the hunter squad will handle any threats. With a decisive stride, he decides to take the overland path, a route he deems great for his journey. The overland path stretches before him, a long and winding road. Suddenly, a massive, golem-like monster with a glowing core appears, causing him to gasp in surprise, realizing he might need to bypass the goblin battlefront to reach Tebeden. A new idea sparks in his mind, a detour to an unexplored field in the eastern forest, and he wonders aloud where it might be. Before he can act on his curiosity, a sharp voice cuts through the air, demanding to know what he is doing there. The white-haired man, accompanied by a red-haired woman, accuses him of being a fake hunter who ordered the abandonment of their post at the front line, claiming that their actions have left the battlefront in a dire state. He stands accused, The red-haired woman's voice sharp as she demands to know why he abandoned his post, leaving others to die. She continues, her glowing eyes fixed on him, asserting that the battlefield's current dire state is a direct result of his actions. The white-haired man then interjects, his tone grave, explaining that the monsters have grown stronger, their mana exceeding expectations, and they've been waiting for this moment. A shadowy, monstrous form, wreathed in dark energy, looms in his mind's eye, a chilling reminder of the escalating threat. Rin, his expression pained, can only offer a quiet, desperate plea, asking what he is supposed to do in the face of such overwhelming odds. The white-haired man looks down at him, his gaze unwavering, and expresses a hope that Rin will become a more responsible individual, one who doesn't abandon his people. Overwhelmed, Rin clutches his head, the weight of their words crushing him, as a memory surfaces of a day when black magic tore through his soul. He recalls leaving his comrades behind, a decision he now attributes to being too weak, too tired to continue. Alone in a bamboo grove, he kneels, contemplating the glowing embers of a small fire, the accusations echoing in his mind. And then, a searing memory of a hand reaching out, engulfed in a dark, fiery aura, began to tear through his mind. He saw himself, cloaked and hunched, staring down at the forest floor. Small, scurrying creatures darted through the undergrowth, their movements frantic and desperate. A chilling swish and rustle echoed through the vibrant, blood-red foliage as he turned and walked away. The sounds of swoosh and whoosh followed his retreating form, a haunting symphony of his abandonment. His face contorted in a silent scream, blood streaking his cheek, the guttural grrrr and crunch of the battle still ringing in his ears, a sound he wished he could hear it over. A dark, swirling swish of magic followed him, a tangible manifestation of the black magic he faced. The chaotic splat of destruction behind him painted the scene as he continued his desperate retreat. He looked up at the ominous sky, his eyes glowing a fierce red, reflecting the torment within. A grotesque, multi-limbed creature writhes and pants, its body contorted in struggle. It lets out a guttural growl, its massive, orange eye glaring defiantly as if challenging an unseen opponent. From the depths of his memory, Rin's eyes glow crimson as he recalls confronting such horrors, knowing he had faced monsters like this countless times before, amidst a desolate forest of red foliage. Shadowy figures close in, their hands gripping the creature, which lets out a piercing screech as it's held down. Even as the beast thrashes, Rin's voice rings out, asserting that while it may do as it pleases, he will not allow it to hurt people. Under the relentless pressure, the creature's eye cracks, a sickening sound accompanying a surge of pinkish-purple energy. The creature's form distorts, transforming into a monstrous, shadowy entity, its glowing red eyes burning with malevolence amidst swirling particles of dark energy. Standing alone in the desolate red forest, Rin reflects on the memory, a quiet admission escaping him. I'm not strong. I am just a mere human. The monstrous creature now lies defeated, its once terrifying form sprawled lifelessly on the ground. The point where the hero party and soldiers once fought has left the entire Arrowhead Mountains scarred and affected. Across the desolate, blood-red terrain, grotesque, multi-eyed creatures with mechanical parts now roam. One of them lunges with a swift motion, its voice echoing with contempt. You low-grade monsters think you can defeat me? But before it can finish its taunt, Rin, his eyes glowing crimson, strikes back with blinding speed. Later, two figures, one tall and carrying a staff, the other smaller, walk away from the ravaged landscape, leaving the red-streaked ground behind. Back in the present, Rin's eye snaps open, glowing a vivid red as he utters a soft, questioning sound. Meanwhile, a new figure with light blue hair, accompanied by a smaller companion, stands overlooking a vast, snow-covered expanse. High above a desolate, rocky expanse, where strange, glowing red flora clings to the barren ground, Lista looks up from the edge of a cliff, a faint question escaping her lips as Karen Ludwig, mounted on horseback, surveys the grim landscape beside her. Below them, the ground is littered with grotesque, segmented worm-like creatures, their forms scattered across the cracked earth, a silent testament to some unseen struggle. Meanwhile, a sharp, metallic tang fills the air, and Rin's eyes glow crimson as he instinctively asks if the other is all right, the strange scent assaulting his senses. Back in the desolate expanse, Lista questions why they would have been warned about this place. Karen Ludwig confirms, explaining that it is indeed the subordination of the great arched forbidden area. Rin, still clutching his head, acknowledges that the smell isn't bad, despite its intensity, and expresses gratitude for whatever it is. Lista, hearing his words, repeats his sentiment about thanking the smell, before hesitantly asking if the scattered bodies are those of Bedancio corpses. A green-haired companion laughs boisterously, her head thrown back in amusement, as Rin looks on with a slight frown. The older man with a beard, clearly exasperated, demands to know why she's laughing so loudly, as the green-haired woman continues to chuckle, even as Rin tries to quiet her. He then adds that it's been ages since he's seen this place, claiming he could find it even blindfolded. A narration begins, describing a day long past, when black magic tore through a soul, a day that forced someone to leave their comrades behind in a place called Kieslantine. Back in the present, the green-haired woman points a finger, declaring that those who protected this path were the masters of the clan. The bearded man reacts with a look of surprise and slight discomfort, his brow furrowed. The green-haired woman, however, maintains a cheerful, almost mischievous expression, her eyes sparkling. He sits, contemplating the words of his companions, a slight frown on his face as he considers the teachings they speak of. A boisterous voice breaks his concentration, the bearded man leaning in with a grin, declaring it a good time to be alive, a day for festivals and free alcohol. He continues, urging them to know the taste of the sun and the moon, to become one with their souls, while the green-haired woman, with a more serious expression, reminds them of the path ahead, asking if they're ready to enter and return. Without a word, Rin dashes forward, leaving his companions to watch him disappear into the vibrant autumn foliage. His boot crunches through the fallen leaves, as the green-haired woman remarks that the path is a mess because of them. The bearded man, however, counters, insisting they clean the path, but then adds that they can't clean up after themselves. As they continue their journey, the bearded man chuckles, while Rin walks on, his expression thoughtful, absorbing the conversation and the environment around him. The journey continues through the vibrant autumn forest. As they walk, the bearded man suggests making a wish at this spot, prompting a curious inquiry from him. His expression shifts, a flicker of surprise crossing his features. Before them stands a weathered gravestone, adorned with fallen leaves. More leaves drift down, gently settling around the solemn marker. He stares at the grave, a silent question forming on his lips as a strange sensation throbs within him. A similar throb resonates, felt by both, as his eyes begin to glow with an intense crimson light. The bearded man reiterates his earlier question, asking if he would like to make a wish here. Still burning with an unnatural glow, Rin asks what the bearded man means, then reveals the grave belongs to his mother, the words heavy with unspoken emotion. He stands before the gravestone, listening as the bearded man declares that keeping this promise has taken him over 10 years as well, before abruptly telling him to stop. Confused, Rin asks why he would say something like that, while the bearded man finds it strange that someone would be buried in the middle of the forest. He then questions if Rin knows the story behind this grave, and if he is even a citizen of this land. The bearded man continues, mentioning a famous archer and asking if Rin knows the great mage Rin, one of his comrades. He assumes Rin must know the story, as it is famous, but apparently, Rin was very shy. The bearded man muses that Rin must have been the one who was going to come back someday, even after he died, causing Rin's eyes to glow crimson as he reacts with a startled "what?" His eyes still burning with an inner light, Rin hears the bearded man conclude that he just waited here. A memory flashes, showing a younger Rin with his mother and a younger bearded man, as the bearded man's voice echoes, you stayed with me back then." In the memory, a young Rin clings to his mother, pleading, "Mom, don't leave me alone." He remembers the day black magic tore through his soul, a time when he, his mother, and a younger version of the bearded man met again in this world. Yet, even in that memory, a playful moment surfaces as the younger bearded man tells him not to laugh. Standing amidst falling autumn leaves, a younger Rin wonders, did the bearded man know this would be their eternal farewell? The memory shifts to a gravestone, a stark reminder that they would never meet again. His younger self's face contorts in pain, questioning the finality of it all. As the memory intensifies, the very fabric of his surroundings begins to crack, a sharp gasp escaping him. Overwhelmed, he cries out, wondering why this is happening. The flashback culminates in a poignant image of him with his mother, standing together amidst the vibrant autumn leaves. Through a vibrant autumn forest, red leaves swirling around him, the bearded man walks with a desperate urgency, muttering a promise to save Rain. Suddenly, a grotesque, decaying creature with a single, malevolent red eye lunges forward. The memory shifts, focusing on a single, bloodshot eye, wide with terror and shock. Rin kneels before a gravestone, its inscription marking the resting place of Julietta Rain, while the bearded man sits solemnly beside it. Overwhelmed, he turns and dashes away from the grave, a single, fragmented word escaping his lips. He continues to run, his face etched with anguish, the same fragmented thought repeating. His desperate flight is cut short as he trips, scattering leaves and falling heavily to the ground. His hand slams into the earth, a pained gasp escaping him. He lies prone amidst the fallen leaves, utterly defeated. Still reeling from the traumatic memories, he lies sprawled amidst a bed of crimson leaves, a pained cry escaping his lips as the weight of his past continues to crush him. Under a sky ablaze with fiery hues, a somber mood settles over the land. Perched on a cliff overlooking a vast, autumnal forest bathed in the setting sun, the bearded man gazes out, lost in thought. A quiet resolve forms within him, a whisper of regret and determination, as he thinks, "I should go back." His gaze falls, a decision made. He vows to turn around and visit Keith's grave. The sunset continues its descent, mirroring the passage of time, as he concludes, "I'll say goodbye there." A memory flashes of a red-haired woman, her face etched with distress, lamenting, "I'm late, but I came back. That I'm sorry." Another memory, this time of a white-haired woman, a gentle smile gracing her lips, her voice echoing, "And to please forgive me." Back in the present, a faint, Bittersweet smile touches the bearded man's lips, a quiet acceptance of the past, and a renewed sense of purpose. As the last light fades, the full moon rises, casting a serene glow over the tranquil night, a silent witness to his journey. Under the vast, silent expanse of the night sky, a luminous full moon casts its gentle glow upon the world below, until the sudden, harsh cry of a crow shatters the tranquility, pulling one's thoughts back to a distant, painful memory. He remembers the day he fell, a younger Rin plummeting through the air amidst a shower of autumn leaves. It was the day he faced black magic, a force tearing through his very soul. His eyes, wide with a chilling realization, reflect the moment he left his comrades behind, a burden he would carry forever. Looking down at the faces below, he knew he was the only one who returned alive, a solitary survivor among the fallen. His mother, her crimson hair flowing, expresses her deep sorrow for returning late, while Lista, with her snow-white hair, pleads for forgiveness. He can only offer a silent apology in return, his own guilt a heavy weight. The memory of that day, and the faces of those he couldn't save, are etched into his mind, a past he can never forget. He had once been so carefree, a youthful smile gracing his lips, as a faint hee-hee escaped him. But the memory quickly shifts to a scene of devastation, his comrades Lista and the bearded man slumped beside him. Their faces etched with despair, they stood amidst the ruins of their battle. He remembers lying there, motionless, the red leaves of autumn falling around his still form, a profound guilt washing over him, as he relives the moment he was left behind. The weight of that memory, the faces of his fallen friends, haunts him even under the serene gaze of the full moon. A constant reminder of the day he alone returned from the black magic. A soft rustle of leaves echoes through the desolate landscape as Rin stands before a solitary grave, the autumn foliage a stark reminder of passing time. With a quiet swish of his coat, he turns away, the weight of his memories heavy on his shoulders. Yet, a lingering gaze pulls him back, his eyes fixed on the silent marker. The inscription, barely visible beneath the scattering of leaves, reads a solemn truth: all my spirit soldiers. A crunch of footsteps accompanies the revelation. With a determined crunch of the earth beneath his feet, he reaches out a hand, a silent promise in his touch. As his fingers brush the cold stone, a powerful womp of energy erupts, a vibrant red glow emanating from his palm and engulfing the grave. The crimson light intensifies, swirling with an ominous power. Then, with a blinding flash, the energy explodes outwards, a wave of raw magic. A resounding Ka echoes as Rin is completely engulfed, his eyes now burning with the same fierce, red light. A deafening boom erupts, as a torrent of crimson energy explodes outwards, flowing with an unstoppable force, and surging through the air. At its heart, Rin stands, completely engulfed by the raw power, the intense aura slowly beginning to recede around him and the gravestones. Though faint embers still cling to his hands, he gazes down at the weathered stones, before turning to walk away, leaving the hallowed ground behind. He continues his journey, his feet treading lightly across the barren ground, leaving the past behind him as he walks towards a distant, monolithic stone. A deep regret settles over him, and he murmurs, "I'm sorry, kids." His steps carry him forward, as he reflects, "It's not because I'm shy. I just lack courage." He looks up, a flicker of resolve in his eyes, to meet you all, but his gaze falls again, shadowed by sorrow, courage to ask forgiveness. I'm. With two shadowy figures, perhaps companions or memories, walking beside him. He presses on towards the bright horizon, leaving the desolate landscape behind. Far away, a new journey begins, marked by a vibrant, glowing energy. The vast, open sky stretched above, a canvas of brilliant blue and soft white clouds. Even as the warmth of autumn in the south enveloped him, Rin gazed upward, a hand shielding his eyes from the sun's glare. A sharp pang of emotion, like a silent scream, tore through him as he reflected on the summer-like autumn sky, tears welling in his eyes. His journey had brought him to a grand city, dominated by a magnificent, ancient university building, its spires reaching towards the heavens. He moved through the bustling streets, a lone figure amidst the throngs of people, each step carrying him deeper into the heart of the city. An old text revealed the city's pride, the Magic University de Layton, established at the very center of Golden Rose. Standing before the imposing structure, he felt a familiar disappointment, realizing that despite his past life's knowledge, the city didn't quite live up to his expectations. Later, amidst a market stall, he overheard a vendor enthusiastically promoting magic scrolls, mentioning a talented and famed magic tutor they had personally encountered. The vendor continued, proudly displaying a scroll and declaring it a magic-amplifying tool, a rare item a legendary adventurer had found in a catacomb, before addressing a customer. All the knowledge in the world is said to be gathered within Golden Rose, a refined and quiet place where everyone is diligently studying and busy. As he walks through the bustling streets, he takes in the sights and sounds of the city. Stopping at a market stall, he inquires about the price of a small, dark item. The vendor replies that it is just 10 copper pieces. Confirming the price, he asks again, a hint of disbelief in his voice. his eyes widening in surprise. He recalls paying 80 pieces for such an item in the past. As the vendor looks on curiously, the bell tower begins to ring, signaling the imminent start of a test. Handing over the 10 copper pieces and receiving a thank you, he suddenly remembers his true purpose in the city, realizing he came to take that very test. A small creature on his shoulder lets out a startled sound as he gasps in realization, his eyes wide with surprise. Rin dashes through the bustling city streets, his small, fluffy companion clinging to his shoulder as he collides with an elderly man, sending him sprawling to the ground. A clamor rises from the surrounding crowd, who note the tight security in the area, while the old man lies stunned on the cobblestones. Still, Rin can only think of his urgent task, muttering that he has to keep going. The old man groans in pain, left behind as the young mage continues his dash. But a moment later, Rin returns, apologizing profusely and offering to find a healer for the injured man. The old man, still gasping for breath, pleads for something to be returned, clarifying that it's not a healer he needs, but a family heirloom. He explains it was meant for his grandson's test, his hand reaching out desperately as he begs Rin to give it back. Rin, however, is already turning away, his mind racing with the urgency of his own impending examination, leaving the old man to wonder why he would do such a thing. He continues to run, a silent thought echoing in his mind. He has no time for this, but he must help her. A distant voice echoes, calling out his name, as Rin's gaze shifts from the vibrant red leaves above to a troubled expression below. He finds himself walking through a desolate, snow-covered expanse, a younger version of himself beside Lista, their backs to the biting wind. The scene shifts again, an elderly woman's voice accusing, demanding to know if that bastard took something, while Rin collapses, confessing a profound memory loss. His feet continue to move, treading a path stained crimson, a stark reminder of the journey of the hero party's grand mage, now reincarnated. An elderly woman gazes upward, her hand extended as if in a silent plea, surrounded by a soft, ethereal glow. High above, Rin descends, his expression resolute as he fixes his gaze downwards. From the tiled rooftops, a figure plummets, the air rushing past with a swift whoosh. Rin falls rapidly towards a cluster of cloaked figures gathered on the ground below, his descent nearing its end. As he approaches, a potent yellow aura ignites around him, crackling with raw magical energy, his inner voice declaring that he had already lost everything and had no choice but to reduce his adversaries to ash. With a sudden burst of speed, he dashes forward, mentally urging himself to move. He continues his rapid advance, a blur of motion, understanding that he must keep moving. Weaving through the other cloaked figures, he maintains his incredible pace. His hands suddenly flash forward, intercepting an unseen attack with a brilliant, clanging burst of light. A sudden, violent surge of sand erupts, engulfing a figure in its churning depths. The sand continues to churn, trapping the individual who cries out in disbelief, wondering what force has just assailed them. Thrown high into the air by the impact, the figure plummets back down with a heavy thud. Meanwhile, the sand magic continues its work, coalescing into a towering structure that envelopes a nearby building. A figure stands triumphantly over the fallen victim, their voice echoing with accusation, declaring that the pickpocket chose the wrong day to steal in Golden Rose. Looking down with an air of absolute authority, she asserts that the victim made a grave mistake. From a distance, Rin watches the scene unfold, his eyes glowing with an intense red light as he recognizes the situation. The powerful mage stands atop a newly formed sand pillar, her white robes flowing as she surveys her captive. With a final, confident declaration, Krista Warden announces her triumph, having successfully apprehended her target. With a cheerful flourish, a young woman with bright golden eyes and flowing white hair presents herself, a playful ta-da, escaping her lips. Meanwhile, a desolate landscape stretches out under a harsh sun, where a lone sand soldier stands guard. Back in a more civilized setting, Rin questions the situation, wondering if the sand soldier is a component of the Academy's training, or perhaps something more. He muses that it could also be a test for the new students, like her, before continuing to walk away, leaving Lista to retort that she's not a new student, but rather a warrior, and that he should watch his words. She then adds, with a hint of frustration, that she's only wearing the school uniform because she was told to, and that she's not actually attending the academy. From a hidden vantage point, a bearded man observes the exchange, a knife clutched in his hand, musing that she is indeed like him, but wonders how she came to be wearing the school uniform already. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind and sand erupts, sweeping Lista off her feet and into a swirling vortex. As the sandstorm engulfs the area, Rin unleashes a powerful surge of wind magic, creating a swirling vortex that tears through the air. The gale intensifies, sweeping Lista off her feet and tossing her violently amidst the debris. She struggles against the relentless force, her body twisting as the swirling sand threatens to consume her. Other villagers are caught in the maelstrom, one small figure crying out for their mother as they are swept away. The sandstorm shows no mercy, violently flinging the villager through the air. Overwhelmed by the relentless assault, Lista collapses to the ground, barely conscious amidst the swirling chaos. But as the chaos peaks, Rin's eyes blaze with a fierce red glow, and a complex magical symbol ignites beneath his feet. A chilling realization dawns. The sandstorm was merely a ruse, a distraction for something far more sinister. As a villager reaches out, their magic power seemingly too weak to resist. And what is that strange, glowing object on his left hand, radiating an ominous energy? A sudden surge of power erupts from him, a confident challenge echoing through the air, as if to say, "You've got pretty good eyesight, don't you? But you're too slow." With a fierce cry, he unleashes a blinding burst of magic, the impact reverberating with a metallic clang. From a distance, Krista Warden watches, her expression shifting to surprise as the bearded man beside her notes the power, realizing it's two-star magic, and he did it in her. Undeterred, Rin channels more energy, a focused burst of light forming in his hands, as if challenging his opponent to meet him head-on. The concentrated magic erupts, shattering an invisible barrier with a sound like breaking glass. The distant city trembling from the force of the impact. As shards of light rain down, he descends, the true magician, far from the city, who nurtures. Meanwhile, the sand itself begins to coalesce, rumbling and shifting into a massive, imposing form. Krista Warden looks down, confirming the emergence of a sandstorm golem, its presence heralded by a heavy clang. A colossal, demonic golem, its body riddled with glowing red cracks, looms over the battlefield, a true devil of sand and stone. Krista Warden, observing the scene, taunts the bearded man, challenging him to use another trick, while he, caught off guard, begins to respond. As the golem's eyes flash with an intense red light, the bearded man responds with a confident smirk, declaring that as long as he has his power, he remains a threat. With a swift motion, a purple magical whip, a two-star spell, erupts from his hand, lashing out with formidable force. The attack connects with a deafening clatter and rumble, sending dust and debris flying from a powerful impact. But the golem's counter is swift and brutal, violently throwing the bearded man backward through the air, until he crashes hard onto the ground, a cloud of dust hissing around him. He could only watch as the colossal sandstorm golem, a towering mass of rock and raw power, loomed over him, its very presence a guttural hiss in the air. From a safe distance, Krista Warden observed the unfolding scene, a smirk playing on her lips. Her voice, laced with disdain, cut through the tension, questioning if he truly believed a mere two-star magic attack would be effective against such a foe, or if it was merely intended as a counter. But even as his purple magical whip struck the golem, the creature remained unfazed. Instead, with eyes glowing a furious red, the sandstorm golem unleashed its own devastating counterattack. The impact was immense, shattering the very ground beneath them and erupting in a blinding burst of golden energy. The golem's power intensified, its red eyes burning through the golden explosion. Krista's voice, now tinged with triumph, echoed, explaining that this was the true meaning of being smashed by a counter. The bearded man was sent flying, crashing violently to the ground amidst the lingering golden energy, a pained grunt escaping him. As the very foundations of the world crumbled around him, he reached out, a desperate attempt to shield those caught in the collapsing debris. The sheer scale of the destruction left an elderly man wide-eyed with terror, his face contorted in a silent scream. Yet, a voice echoed in his mind, a stark reminder. With magic, you won't win just because you attack first. His eyes now burning with a fierce red glow, Rin unleashes a torrent of golden, crackling energy from his outstretched hands. A man in a hooded cloak offers a piece of advice. Meanwhile, a young woman with bright hair explains that in magic, victory isn't guaranteed just by striking first. As the conversation continues, Rin observes his surroundings, a faint blue glow emanating from his hand. The mystical symbol on his palm pulses with increasing intensity, ready to unleash its power. Suddenly, the bearded man cries out in alarm, his eyes wide with terror at a new threat. With a powerful whoosh, a massive golem erupts from the ground, its form shifting and growing as it takes shape. Rin, now fully focused, begins to channel his magic, a torrent of blue energy swirling around his hand. The intense magical aura expands with a powerful whoosh, ready to strike the emerging threat. He continued to channel his immense power, a swirling vortex of brilliant blue energy erupting from his hands and arcing towards the nascent sandstorm golem. As rain lashed down around them, Lista grabbed his arm, her voice laced with disbelief, questioning if he was truly a grand mage, to which he quickly denied it. Undeterred, he pressed forward through the shallow water, his hands still glowing with concentrated magical energy. With a soft thrum, the vast blue aura condensed into a small, potent orb in his palm, his gaze fixed on the ground below. Below them, the sandstorm golem finally solidified, a colossal, rocky titan rising from the earth, prompting the bearded man to admit that his own magic couldn't compare to Rin's. His eyes narrowed with resolve, as he declared that Rin's mana was stronger than both his and Lista's combined. The massive golem let out a guttural roar, a powerful sound that echoed across the landscape, sending tremors through the ground and dislodging rocks from the cliff face. As debris rained down, the golem's voice boomed, commanding them to know their place, and the bearded man cried out, shielding Rin from the impact. Its single, glowing red eye pulsed with malevolent energy, a silent promise of destruction. As the colossal sandstorm golem loomed, Rin unleashed a torrent of brilliant blue magic, the energy crackling around his hands with a fierce, determined roar. The monstrous construct, a towering figure of jagged rock and swirling sand, stood firm, its very presence a testament to raw, destructive power. With a thunderous impact, the golem struck, sending debris flying as the bearded man instinctively threw up a shimmering blue shield, protecting those behind him. He held the barrier firm, glancing back at Rin with a worried expression, insisting that the young mage's current approach wouldn't work against such a foe. The golem, enraged by their continued resistance, let out a guttural roar, its rocky maw wide open in frustration. It brought down a massive, crushing hand, demanding their demise with a chilling command. But before the blow could land, Rin's concentrated blue magic erupted, meeting the golem's attack with a blinding explosion of energy. He continued to channel the immense power, his body enveloped in a vibrant blue aura as particles of light danced around him. His eyes, now glowing with an intense red light, reflected a fierce determination to overcome the monstrous foe. Rin's magic erupts in a blinding flash of blue, meeting the sandstorm golem's attack head-on. His eyes glowing with fierce red energy as the clash reverberates through the air. With a deafening boom, the sheer force of his counterspell shatters a massive portion of the golem's arm, leaving the bearded man to stare in wide-eyed disbelief. He can hardly believe the young mage pushed the monstrous construct back. The golem, now reeling from the impact, is violently thrown backward, its rocky form cracking and groaning under the relentless magical assault. As the golem's arm completely disintegrates into sand, the bearded man swiftly snatches Rin, pulling him away from the collapsing mass of the sandstorm creature. Holding him securely as they descend through the air, watching the defeated elemental dissolve below them. With a final rush of dust and sand, the mighty golem completely collapses, leaving nothing but a swirling cloud where it once stood. The sandstorm golem, its arm already shattered, continues to crumble, its rocky form dissolving into the splashing water. The bearded man watches, his face a mask of stunned disbelief. The massive construct disintegrates further, its remaining bulk collapsing into the churning water with a dull thud. Rin kneels by the water's edge, his hand dipping into the remnants of the golem, a splash echoing the creature's demise. Listo observes him, noting that he seems to be using his own magic to deal with the situation, while Rin, still processing the sudden shift, demands to know why he was grabbed so abruptly. Ignoring the question, Rin begins to gather magical energy between his outstretched hands, a soft yellow glow emanating from his palms. His eyes closed in concentration, he manipulates the swirling energy, causing it to spin and coalesce into a complex symbol. The golem's magic, it seems, was derived from runes that bound Rin and one other entity, dark magic infused with the very traits of gravity, defying it and going against it, a formula that Rin now understands must be solved using the anti-differentiation method. With a final surge of power, he forms a perfect, glowing yellow orb, a quiet affirmation escaping his lips. He detects a foul, twisting stench, his hands already glowing with nascent power. With a flash of light and a crack of displaced earth, he launches himself forward, magic coalescing around him. From the depths, a thick, root-like tendril whips violently through the air. A massive, rocky golem, its eyes burning crimson, erupts from the ground with a guttural roar. The creature lets out another deafening roar, its stony features contorted in primal fury. Its numerous tendrils rattle menacingly, stirring up dust and debris. The colossal golem looms over the landscape, while in the distance, Rin prepares for battle. Suddenly, the bearded man charges into the fray, letting out a fierce battle cry. From a hidden vantage point, a small, goblin-like creature watches the unfolding chaos, its eyes wide with terror. A sudden, piercing cry escapes Rin, his eyes wide with alarm. He quickly surveys his surroundings, a question forming in his mind as an older man with a purple head wrap comes into view. Before Rin can react, the man swiftly snatches something from his hand. Holding up the small, golden ornament, the man scrutinizes it, wondering if it's an artifact and finding it intriguing. He then turns his gaze back to Rin, accusing him of theft with a dismissive tone. Rin recalls the whispers of ancient elven ruins filled with treasures, though these particular ruins had been empty, save for the small, golden ornament he had found and grabbed. The older man's voice cuts through his thoughts, demanding to know his identity and what he wants from a mere B-rank party. Rin considers the question of his own identity, knowing the man wouldn't believe him even if he told the truth. With a heavy heart, he walks away through the bustling streets of the town. As the older man observes Rin, a slight smile plays on his lips. He advises the young mage to be more careful next time. His words hang in the air as Rin stands before him, the golden ornament still clutched in his hand, a silent challenge passing between them. Before Rin can react, the older man's hand moves with impossible speed, snatching the small, golden ornament from his grasp. Rin's eyes widen in disbelief, his expression a mixture of shock and frustration. The older man, now holding the ornament, lets out a triumphant cry, while Rin, still reeling, finds himself unable to comprehend the sudden turn of events. He then praises Rin's unexpected skill, calling his reaction incredible, even as Rin struggles to process the theft. The older man continues to taunt him, acknowledging his strength, but Rin can only manage a surprised gasp as he tries to recover the item. With a sudden burst of speed, Rin attempts to retrieve the ornament, dashing towards the older man through the bustling town square. But the older man is too quick, the golden ornament glinting in his hand, leaving Rin to cry out in utter dismay as his attempt fails. Rin stands amidst a group of cloaked figures, a small, green-skinned creature held captive in his grasp, the city sprawling behind them. Later, seated with two of the cloaked individuals, murmurs fill the air as one of them addresses the blonde-haired woman, Krista. Rin, his expression serious, acknowledges the situation, knowing he made a mistake. Krista Warden listens intently, and the bearded man points out that it was Rin's arrogance, cautioning him against being so hasty with the item, to which Rin simply replies, he knows, and will do better next time. More importantly, Krista asks if he saw the older man's incredible speed, his magic activation as fast as Rin's own. The bearded man grunts, confirming he saw it, admitting the older man was faster than him, while Rin dismisses the idea, uttering a disbelieving no way. Rin, still pondering the encounter, wonders what truly happened, as the older man hadn't seemed that strong when he saw him at the council. He considers the implications of this revelation, a quiet, "Is that so?" escaping his lips. Rin, clad in a white robe, expresses his confusion, wondering why the person they are discussing would be present for the homecoming test at this particular moment, while a blonde-haired man with glasses listens intently, asking for clarification. Suddenly, a different scene unfolds, as Lista questions Rin's presence, wondering why he would be there for the admissions test when it had already begun some time ago. Before she can press further, he suddenly turns and bolts away, leaving her to exclaim in surprise. Meanwhile, Lista confronts Krista Warden, asking if she can simply let him in, only for the warden to assert her authority. Krista then turns her attention to Rin, questioning his sudden bossiness, to which he cryptically replies that she has no idea, and that he only acts this way if he is with the Grand Mage. She continues, suggesting that the Grand Mage would surely prefer someone who genuinely intends to join, implying Rin's motives are suspect. Rin remains silent, his expression unreadable, as Krista confidently affirms her statement, leaving no room for argument. The scene shifts to reveal a sign for the Plemon Professor's Lounge, indicating the current location. Krista Warden, focused, reviews a document detailing a candidate's past, noting the absence of any first-place finishes in other competitions. Her gaze sharpens as she reads further, discovering the candidate was known as the Master of the God-Sent House Ludwig, having trained for 3 years before passing his examinations. Meanwhile, a memory flashes through Rin's mind, a vivid image of the Grand Mage's immense power, a force far beyond his own comprehension, leaving him with the stark realization that he wouldn't have even had the chance to touch it. Krista's voice cuts through his thoughts, her tone dismissive as she regards him as nothing more than a child who only knows how to run away. Her stern expression unwavering, the young mage simply looks down. As Krista confirms her identity as Professor Warden and asserts her authority, stating her full awareness of his meeting with the Grand Mage, but declaring her intention to get rid of him. The imposing structure of the academy looms in the distance, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. History, it seems, is destined to repeat itself. A soft click echoes as a page turns, revealing the truth that talented individuals often emerge in great numbers within the same generation. Names like Wilbert of the Royal School, Lillian of the Imperial School, and Caden of the Commoner School are all rising stars. And Logan of the Military School joins their ranks, as a figure in a wide-brimmed hat stands contemplating in a grand, sunlit hall. The children from the 4 schools have gathered simultaneously, each a genius in their own right. Yet even the master among them is not alone, and perhaps vulnerable. The conflict between the Magic Tower and the 8 schools deepens, a man with light hair muses, finding no pleasure in intervening in student disputes, yet acknowledging this situation might be the best case for it. The robed figure, holding a staff, decides she will need to talk to the professors and lecturers, as they will be the ones to keep an eye on the situation and interfere, if necessary. Delayton Dean Medelia Page, her sharp blue eyes narrowed, knows that they would avoid doing so too often. The light-haired man offers a subtle, knowing smirk. Medelia Page, surrounded by stacks of documents, considers the unfolding situation, acknowledging that it is too soon to draw any definitive conclusions, yet action must be taken. Her thoughts drift to the emerging talents, realizing that Krista is likely not the only genius sent from the magic families to this class, a sentiment she voices aloud. An unseen voice questions if there's a new situation she's unaware of, to which Medelia's assistant replies, "No, ma'am." The voice agrees that her assessment isn't wrong, finding it hard to accept the conclusion, then asks Medelia directly, "Who are you?" The assistant quickly interjects, "I'm sure you met him at the school." Medelia, recognizing the speaker, chides him, "Your habit of bearing a grudge is as bad as ever, Kai," before he offers his personal opinion that there's no need for them to get involved, suggesting they simply watch from the shadows, like the magic families. Ignoring his suggestion, Medelia firmly states, "I'll decide how the 2 of you will function." Meanwhile, the bearded man, in a different location, muses, "I suppose we'll find out soon enough," before adding, "Indeed. The strict answer is no." Back with Medelia, Kai continues, suggesting she makes someone their teacher, then asks if she's holding him for compensation, noting that while the individual was arrogant, he would have become bothersome if he had been a hero. Medelia then relays the individual's simple desire. He said he just wants to read books, prompting Kai to remark, "What a strange fellow." Still processing the implications of their conversation, Kai looks down, a thoughtful expression on his face, before revealing he has taken on a new apprentice. From her study, surrounded by books, Medelia Page calmly acknowledges his observation, noting his usual quick grasp of situations. Kai's expression shifts, his thoughts consumed by the individual who was responsible for a past incident, his gaze fixed on an unseen point as he recalls the one who caused such widespread chaos. Slumped on the ground, disbelief colors his voice as he questions the very notion of such a person's existence, before revealing that Special Affairs has already reached out to him regarding the matter. Still engrossed in her reading, Medelia Page states matter-of-factly that they will arrive soon. A sense of unease washes over Kai, prompting Medelia Page to instruct him to be prepared for what's to come. Though he arrived late and couldn't intervene, he was fully briefed on the incident and his acceptance into the new role. Meanwhile, two cloaked figures sit and stand in a quiet, stone-walled area, their presence a silent testament to the unfolding events. Kai, still reflecting on the situation, admits he wasn't fond of the entire incident, especially considering the woman involved was a guild member in charge of the entire Luther region, the only one capable of handling the man who devastated the city, yet that wasn't the real problem. He had always been taught that the concept of a hero was an outdated fantasy, yet he held a steadfast belief in the existence of such a person. And as a descendant of the continent's most prestigious lineage of intelligence, he was destined to become one himself. He truly believed in them. Now, in a new life, Rin found himself in a place he'd never experienced before, a school. In his past life, he had been taught the paramount importance of obedience, a lesson reinforced by his family in this current existence. Meanwhile, Krista Warden, burdened by an unseen weight, felt herself at the very end of her rope. Rin knew that until he could fully recover his past abilities, he had to at least enhance his current skills to that former level. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden call, as two other students approached him. One of them recognized him, greeting him with a hesitant, "You're that, hi." Rin offers a polite thanks for the help, but then a thought strikes him, prompting a sudden interjection. A fellow student, Albie, confidently declares that he couldn't imagine himself without Rin, his rival, before drawing attention to someone else in the crowd, pointing out Krista Warden. Albie clears his throat, continuing his dramatic pronouncement, explaining that it's common knowledge that if one can't find Krista Warden in their school, they must be an outside spy. With a flourish, Albie introduces himself, acknowledging Rin as his rival, and expecting him to feel honored by the declaration. Rin, slightly bewildered, wonders if they've met before, to which Albie vaguely replies that it's possibly the case. He recalls the girl he met at the entrance exam, the one who had also declared herself his rival, insisting he treat her as such. That hooded figure had acted with such boldness and brilliance, leaving a clear impression on his memory. Albie, noticing Rin's distant expression, demands to know why he's laughing, accusing him of scoffing at his declaration. A sudden burst of light and sound erupts around Albie, as if he had just realized something profound, a realization that seemed to encompass everything. A powerful whirl of energy surrounds him, a voice confirming his power has returned. He moves with a swift, almost imperceptible motion. From above, he surveys his surroundings, acknowledging that he truly is in this place. Lying on the ground, his eyes glow with renewed determination, ready for the real challenge. He considers the high-ranking mage responsible for the disruptions, knowing she must be dealt with, and that she will make a good opponent. Standing tall, blue energy crackles around his hands as he wonders if he should take the lead himself. His gaze lifts to a brilliant light, marveling at its luminosity. He then turns his thoughts to the greatest mage in history, seeing him as an excellent testing ground for his abilities. Standing before a towering construct, he questions if this is one of those things, a challenge designed to compare his power and measure his strength. Having fully regained his power, Rin appears in a striking new form, his light blonde hair now pulled back into a long braid, a confident smirk playing on his lips as he calls out a name, Wilbeard. A memory flashes, showing Rin with eyes glowing crimson, as if reliving the day black magic tore through his very soul. He recalls the faces of his comrades, the bearded man and the red-haired woman, their expressions etched with distress. A painful reminder of how he left them behind. In the present, Albie speaks of Wilbert from the Ronium School, the salutatorian of the Delayton Secondary. He mentions hearing that Wilbert and Rin were once enemies, seeking confirmation. Albie then apologizes, explaining that the class representative doesn't want to cooperate, and he himself won't do anything he doesn't want to. He insists he wasn't being watched by his parents and didn't act intentionally. He sarcastically asks if he should be thankful to the point of tears, then complains that it's unreasonable to make him repay someone without reason, asserting that Rin should be grateful for his conscientiousness. A close-up on Rin's glowing red eye reveals his unwavering pride, as Albie's voice continues, warning that if he keeps living like that, he'll stain his family name, calling it a shame. Albie's voice cuts through the air, a faint surprise in his tone. "Oh my, You're so invisible that I didn't even notice you were there. He continues, his hand gesturing dismissively. Or did someone say bother you, good sir? Rin, unperturbed, simply states, it doesn't bother me. His gaze then shifts to the student crumpled on the floor, asking, I was just wondering who could be so annoying. Are you good at magic? Albie interjects, looking at Rin. You'd better be really good at magic if you're going to mess with me. A flicker of annoyance crosses Albie's face. What? He exclaims as the fallen student weakly retorts, you bastard. Albie bursts into laughter, a loud, mocking sound filling the hall. He doubles over, finding immense amusement in the scene, declaring, PFF, BA ha 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 ha. I would be too embarrassed to go anywhere. This is the real entertainment. Dean Medelia Page sighs, her expression one of weary concern as she considers the situation. Meanwhile, Albie, still amused by the unfolding events, casually asks if the other student is coming now. Rin, however, simply dismisses the question, his attention elsewhere. The dean, still speaking, questions the nature of the current situation, wondering what exactly is happening. Albie, with a playful punch to Rin's shoulder, urges him to forget it, declaring they're about to have a proper duel. Krista Warden, standing with her back to the viewer, seems to be involved in the duel, as the question of whether it's a duel or a stumble is raised. The dean, still observing the scene, comments on the situation, dismissing it as nonsense. Albie then questions Rin, asking if he's from Libbarden Secondary Academy, while Rin simply asks what he means. An older man, observing the students, ponders the implications of the situation, wondering if it's a teaching moment for himself. The grand entrance ceremony for the 120th class of Libbarden University begins, with a speaker on stage declaring, we will now begin. Among the sea of new students, he sits with a look of utter disinterest. Nearby, Rin mirrors his apathy, his gaze distant. Not all share their sentiment, however, as one pink-haired student beams with excitement. Another, with brown hair, eagerly raises her hand, ready to participate. Rin, growing increasingly restless, internally wonders if this ceremony will ever conclude. A distinct clack echoes through the hall, as a figure in a witch's hat prepares to speak, announcing, now. The speaker on stage then formally requests, please give a round of applause for the Chancellor's welcome speech for the new students, catching Rin by surprise. Another clack sounds, and Dean Medelia Page, the Chancellor, reacts with a surprised, whoa. As the ceremony continues, the voice on the stage introduces the Chancellor of Libbarden Mage University, Medelia Page. A soft click echoing through the hall as the young man in the audience, Rin, listens intently. A murmur ripples through the assembled students. As the speaker continues, detailing the Chancellor's esteemed position as the greatest mage in the Empire and the head of the Mage Alliance. Not only that, but she is also the direct descendant of Enwita Page, revered as the father of magic. The name resonates deeply with Rin, a faint magical glow emanating from his form as he considers the implications of such a powerful lineage. His own image flickers, surrounded by crackling blue energy, a vision of his true power. Beside him, Albie leans over, calling out to him, but Rin's mind is elsewhere, a startling thought forming. He is the Chancellor of Libbarden University, Medelia Page. Standing on the grand stage, addressing the new class, Rin declares that none of them will become second years. Medelia Page's voice rings out across the auditorium, declaring that the new students will either have to become second years or face dismissal. The weight of her words settles over the assembled students. As she continues, explaining that of the 170 who survive, less than 50 will advance to their third year, and only half of those will ultimately graduate. This means, on average, fewer than 30 students graduate from the university each year. The Chancellor stands tall on the stage, her imposing figure dominating the hall. As she confirms the harsh reality, Libbarden University does not tolerate incompetent magicians. Many students look downcast, overwhelmed by the sheer difficulty of the path ahead. But Medelia Page simply extends a gloved hand, issuing a direct challenge, raise your hands if you wish to learn the lifestyle here at Delator. Her eyes glow with an intense pink light, a subtle smirk playing on her lips. The Chancellor's words hang heavy in the air, a stark reminder of the brutal competition awaiting them at Libbarden, where students are pitted against each other. Yet, she continues, acknowledging that these ordinary students are somehow different, they are like no other. A faint smile plays on Medelia Page's lips as she delivers her final, challenging remark, promising to see them again in 3 years. Rin, among the sea of new faces, meets her gaze with unwavering resolve, silently accepting the challenge, knowing that by then, he will greet her not as a chancellor, but as a senior mage. With a genuine, encouraging smile, Medelia Page offers her best wishes, a stark contrast to her earlier, intimidating demeanor. The vast assembly of new students remains silent for a moment, absorbing her words. Then, a single student begins to clap, the sound echoing through the hall. Soon, the applause swells, a wave of rhythmic claps filling the space, a collective acceptance of the daunting path ahead. Medelia Page watches them, her hat subtly flapping as if in response to the rising energy. The Chancellor stands poised, her hands clasped before her, as the ceremony draws to a close. Golden rings of light descend, shimmering through the air. met by the resounding applause of the assembled students. A fierce glint of anticipation flashes in Medelia Page's eye as she thinks, I'm already looking forward to it. Among the crowd, Rin observes the scene, a quiet, what a mess escaping his lips. He reflects on the new students, finding their ambition appealing, and a determined humph. This time solidifies his resolve. His thoughts drift to a past conversation, where an older man expressed disappointment. I was expectant after hearing the rumor of a prodigy, but I only found a child with dubious potential. The elder, his eyes covered by a blindfold, presses him. So you mean, all my words were in vain? Rin stands before a magnificent structure, a sense of anticipation building within him as he takes in its grandeur. He confirms to himself, this is indeed the Yagman University building, finally within his grasp. The sheer scale of the institution leaves him in awe, a truly grand building. Stepping inside, he navigates the quiet halls, making his way towards the classroom. A soft swish of the door announces his arrival, and there it is. He surveys the empty room, its rows of desks awaiting students. A gentle twitter of birdsong drifts in through the window, drawing his gaze outside. He settles into a desk, contemplating the vibrant autumn colors beyond the glass. A memory surfaces, a voice echoing in his mind. You might be my partner, Rin. I look forward to working with you. He responds with a quiet humph, a mixture of acknowledgement and determination. Rin finds himself in a new classroom, greeted by a cheerful, pink-haired student who extends a hand, eager to begin working with him. Meanwhile, from a distance, other students whisper, wondering if he is indeed the one who achieved a perfect score at Yagman University, a feat that has clearly made him a subject of campus gossip. The pink-haired student, acting as an interpreter, clarifies that her enthusiasm is merely to translate Lady Krista's words, leaving Rin to sigh in mild exasperation. She continues, declaring her immense joy at the prospect of working with him, though her true feelings remain hidden behind a facade of bubbly excitement. Internally, however, her thoughts betray a deep-seated resentment, as she fumes about the arrogant bastard from the very first day, while Rin appears visibly uncomfortable. As the group gathers, the pink-haired student exclaims her excitement, her words echoing with a forced cheerfulness. Both she and Albie harbor critical thoughts about Rin. She labels him a Denton lackey and a mannerless brat who has the dean wrapped around his finger, while Albie expresses envy for the power of the 5 great magic families. With a smug expression, the pink-haired student concludes her internal assessment, dismissing Rin as nothing more than a useless shell. A sudden, intense migraine washes over Rin, causing him to clutch his head in discomfort. Meanwhile, a red-haired mage questions when someone was ever afraid, while Albie retorts that she's never had to attend an academy, to which she simply replies, no, leaving Rin to find the exchange strange. Rin sits absorbed in a book, seemingly oblivious to the mage's declaration of being a mage and Albie's dismissive query about what he could possibly learn in such a place. Albie, holding a cup, continues to prod, asking if Rin doesn't wish for more knowledge, then questioning what he's doing if that's the case. As he stands among his new classmates, including Albie and the pink-haired student, a thought forming in his mind. Is a learning institution truly meant for learning about people like them? Time passes quickly. Suddenly, a hand reaches for Rin's book, startling him. As the older man watches with a stern expression. A book, he muses, can be a weapon, a shield, or an instruction, as he sits in a classroom, observing the new instructor. Around him, a low murmur spreads through the students, their whispers filling the air. He overhears a classmate ask about the man at the front, only to be met with surprise that they don't know Owen, a teacher infamous for his harshness. Owen, meanwhile, surveys the room with a thoughtful hum, his expression unreadable. He then approaches Rin's desk, his hand reaching out to take the book lying there. A soft exhale escapes him as he examines the tome. He holds up a piece of paper, his gaze still fixed on the book. Addressing the class, Owen declares his lack of motivation, finding it a chore to teach pathetic monkeys for an entire year, as whispers ripple through the students. He writes on the blackboard, labeling them monkeys with rubbish for brains, his disdain evident. Owen's book swings down with a sharp thwack, striking Rin on the head as the teacher demands to know what he's looking at. A harsh BM echoes through the silent classroom, leaving the teacher's stern, unyielding expression to dominate the moment. The other students, including Albie and the pink-haired girl, can only watch in stunned silence, their faces reflecting a mixture of shock and fear. Turning his back to the class, the teacher's voice cuts through the tension, declaring that they know nothing. He continues his tirade, reminding them that the world has forgotten their former glory as Delayton, and accusing them of only seeking a life of luxury after graduating from the magic tower. His gaze piercing, Owen asserts that to be a true mage requires giving up everything, but scoffs that they cannot even give up their own lives, deeming them trash that can't even be used as fodder. After a moment of silence, the teacher poses a question to the room, asking if anyone present is from the 8 schools, and a hand rises. Owen's eyes narrow as he addresses the student he just struck, asking if he is from the 8 schools, only for Rin to calmly state his affiliation with the Royal Mage Tower, a response the teacher dismisses immediately. Ignoring the previous answer, Owen then directs his inquiry to the rest of the class, asking if anyone is from the magic families. Owen's voice booms through the classroom, declaring the students to be the scum of the earth. Albie and the pink-haired student exchange worried glances, silently acknowledging the teacher's harsh words about those who act elite despite their origins, and those who should simply go back to washing their own clothes, even if they come from a great family. Rin, however, remains impassive, his expression betraying nothing. As Owen continues his verbal assault, challenging anyone proud of their family to prove it, despite being the one who initiated the confrontation. Owen's gaze sharpens, his words cutting deep as he proclaims there's nothing worse than monkeys in high places, vowing he won't hesitate to leave behind those who can't keep up. A heavy silence descends upon the classroom, no one daring to utter a sound. Yet Rin offers no response. Owen leans in, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, asking if he needs to teach Rin manners as well. Albie and the pink-haired student react with alarm, realizing the implications of Rin's continued silence. A sudden announcement causes Albie to flinch in surprise, as a voice declares that the students will now be taking a test and will work with the partner next to them. With a knowing smirk, Kai adds a crucial detail. The group scoring the lowest will be immediately flunked. Owen, his expression grim, delivers a final, stern warning. They must heed his words. A murmur ripples through the classroom as students react to a recent announcement, one wondering aloud if they could truly be plunked so easily, while another admits to not knowing such a thing was possible, concluding that the instructor was likely just trying to intimidate them. Rin, among the students, listens with a look of surprise, as Owen, the older man, scratches his head, a subtle gesture before making his next move. Then, with a resounding impact, he slams his hand down onto a desk. His voice cuts through the lingering silence, declaring, "You have 20 minutes. Solve this problem, pass the paper on your desks, and turn it in." Rin's gaze falls upon the paper, which glows with intricate, arcane runes, leaving him to wonder what kind of challenge this truly is. The teacher's voice rings out, a stark reminder that those unable to shine on their own would inevitably be left behind, just as he had warned. He surveys the room, his gaze sharp, demanding to know why anyone was still lost in thought. With a decisive slam of his hand, he declares the test officially underway, causing a collective flinch among the students. The pressure mounts as the students, including a pink-haired girl and Albie, absorb the weight of the assignment, a task clearly designed for an academy employee, not a student. Rin, his eyes glowing faintly red, mutters to himself, his mind racing to comprehend the complex problem before him. Nearby, Albie also murmurs, acknowledging that he and Rin are in the designated area, and decides they must simply apply the formula to proceed. He quickly begins to scribble, urging himself to hurry and yield to the task, his pen scratching across the paper. Rin, however, stares at the matrices, frustrated that he's creating more work for himself, while Albie sharply tells him to stop complaining and start writing, causing the protagonist to flinch. Meanwhile, outside the academy, three elderly, cloaked figures stand in silent observation. Krista recalls a past burden, a voice echoing in her mind, reminding her of the immense trust placed upon her. That voice, filled with unwavering belief, declared her the sole hope for her family's honor. A tear escapes her eye as she resolves, she must be the best. Meanwhile, Rin sits in deep contemplation, his eyes glowing with an intense, crimson light, the weight of his own heavy burden pressing down on him. Albie leans over, noticing his friend's struggle, asking what troubles him and if he's found the answer to the function. With a quiet affirmation, Albie hands over a sheet of paper, declaring that now they simply need to solve it. The three students, including the pink-haired girl, continue their work. As Rin looks up, a sudden gust of wind rustling through the room, making him wonder at its unusual intensity. Then, from his outstretched hand, a soft, ethereal glow begins to emanate, swirling with nascent magical energy. Hunched over his desk, Rin's frustration mounted, the soft rustle of papers accompanying his desperate struggle. Suddenly, the sound of tearing paper filled the air, as autumn leaves drifted down around his scattered work. More papers tore, a testament to his growing despair. Albie watched him with concern, as Rin remained hunched over, surrounded by the wreckage of his efforts. Then, with a sudden jolt, he cried out in disbelief as papers sprang up around him. Albie, unable to bear the silence any longer, exclaimed that one couldn't solve problems without making a sound. Rin could only stammer an apology, convinced he had ruined everything, a sentiment Albie echoed, suggesting they were all doomed. But then, a surge of power coursed through him, his eyes flaring crimson as his runes activated. A brilliant blue light erupted from his hand, causing the scattered papers to swirl around him in a magical vortex. A shimmering, intricate energy construct, almost crystalline, materializes. As his eyes blaze with a fierce red light, and his hand glows with potent blue energy. With a confident smirk playing on his lips, Rin declares his intention to employ some clever tactics. A powerful, ornate magical barrier, resembling a dragon, forms, solidifying into a protective seal. As the exam officially commences, he curses, realizing his paper is ruined. Papers swirl around him as he desperately cries out that he must rewrite everything. With only 5 minutes remaining, he frantically scratches away, knowing he possesses the solution. Still writing at a furious pace, he calculates that 8 mages should be more than sufficient. Albie questions his actions, convinced his method won't succeed within the remaining time. Albie questions Rin's approach, asking how he could possibly know the solution without even trying, while Rin, deep in thought, acknowledges the importance of knowing when to give up. Albie, frustrated by his friend's apparent defeatism, exclaims, "You bastard." With his eyes glowing a fierce red, Rin retorts that the problem can indeed be solved, just not by Albie's method. He then frantically begins to rewrite his exam paper, his pen scratching furiously across the page. Albie, observing the paper with the word Gift War scrawled across it, muses that Rin might be able to pull it off if he can stay calm, but doubts he has enough time. As Rin continues to write, a memory surfaces, the day he faced black magic tearing through his soul. He recalls leaving his comrades behind, a monstrous, tentacled creature with multiple glowing eyes looming in the darkness. The memory is vivid, the creature's single, large eye staring out, as he admits to himself that he doesn't even remember its name. The creature's gaping maw, filled with sharp teeth, is a terrifying sight, a reminder of the day he lost his few remaining companions. The memory intensifies, revealing a green-haired companion, his face etched with despair as he confronts the dark, spiky aura of a monstrous entity, a horror far beyond merely failing an exam. His companion's anguish echoes Rin's own past failure, but in the present, a fierce determination hardens his gaze, vowing to learn from that crushing lesson and urging himself not to hold back. With renewed focus, Rin bends over his paper, his pen moving swiftly across the page. A small, intricately folded paper object settles on a surface with a soft clunk. Rin and Albie walk side by side, their footsteps echoing softly. Approaching them, the bearded man extends his hand, offering a similar folded paper to Albie, instructing him to get to work as Albie takes the paper, his hand glowing with a soft blue aura while channeling mana into the delicate construct. With a sudden poof, the paper expands rapidly, shimmering with vibrant blue energy and particle effects as the bearded man observes the unfolding magic. Noting that the mana from the 1st and 2nd of June is flowing properly, before Rin and Albie face each other, Albie remarking that it wasn't bad for a short amount of time, while Rin retorts not to be cocky, adding that Albie didn't do well either. The bearded man explains that 2 minutes should be enough time for the problem at hand, hence the task. Albie, however, doesn't understand, wondering how they finished class and the formulas so quickly, while the bearded man simply asks why he thinks they were given the task. He then asserts that Albie surely knows best why he received it. Albie looks confused, asking what the man is saying, while Rin remains silent beside him. The two students then lean in, whispering to each other. The bearded man addresses a larger group of students, stating that their answer should have been torn to shreds earlier, to which a student replies with a simple yeah. Albie questions him, asking if they're already done. The bearded man instructs them to please gather theirs too. He is then addressed as Professor, a slight smirk playing on his lips. Still addressing the students, the professor finds their initial attempts at the magic grid formula quite unpleasant, and he had expected far more from the little magic fanboy. Whispering amongst themselves, Albie laments that it would be too embarrassing to call themselves mages if they couldn't even use magic because of a simple gust of wind. Rin, however, finds Albie's style admirable, though he knows it can't amount to more than the professor's snot. The professor simply hums in response, his expression unreadable. Rin confirms his understanding, holding up a paper detailing the magic grid, explaining that one part is fan-shaped and the other, of course, is not. He continues to explain the magic grid, noting that the core of Jung is very similar to water magic, and that they used this to their advantage, changing the formula Albie had done. Albie reacts with a surprised Oppo, finding it impossible that such a high-level class could be done by other students, wondering how the middle-level students could manage it. The professor clarifies that they cannot use magic freely without a firm grip on runes, and for this class, they changed the formula of the magic grid. He then offers them a chance to redo it, emphasizing that no matter what, they must get it done, leaving Albie to wonder how they possibly can. He begins to cast, a green aura flaring around him as a confident smirk plays on his lips, declaring his intent to crush their naive expectations. Albie, looking perplexed, wonders aloud, "Did you know that if you found the formula to solve Jung, the formula to solve Jung becomes much more difficult?" Meanwhile, the professor's magic coalesces into a brilliant, swirling orb of light, as he proclaims that this time, they'll see if their efforts are truly worthy. The orb expands rapidly, engulfing the space around them in a dazzling blue glow, its energy radiating outwards as the students watch intently. The magical energy swirls around Rin and Albie, a vortex of white and blue light encompassing them. The swirling intensifies, the patterns within the light becoming more intricate and defined. With a powerful surge, the magic erupts into a focused burst, sending concentric rings of energy rippling outwards. Finally, the dazzling display settles, leaving behind a complex, star-shaped magical pattern shimmering in the air. As the magical energies dissipate, a visual roster of key figures appears, showcasing the diverse cast of characters involved in this unfolding narrative. The students in the lecture hall shift in their seats, some looking up in thought, others down in contemplation, as the recent magical demonstration concludes. Among them, Rin stands, his gaze fixed intently upwards, absorbed by the lingering magical residue. Then, a sharp, rhythmic clapping echoes through the room, drawing all attention to the professor. Rin, now seated, reflects on the professor's long career, noting that it has been a considerable time since he began teaching, and he has surely encountered countless overseers in his tenure. The professor, an older man with a distinguished beard, addresses the class, his voice carrying clearly as he declares that Rin is the first to ever provide a correct answer. The revelation sends a ripple of shock and anger through the other students, one of whom clenches his fist, muttering how much it enrages him. Albie, sitting beside Rin, quietly observes that the professor has indeed been teaching for many years before the professor's voice cuts through the tension, awarding Rin the coveted rank S. Trembling with excitement, Albie bows deeply, expressing his heartfelt thanks to the professor. Overwhelmed with joy, Albie throws his arms wide, a radiant aura of happiness sparkling around him as he shouts his gratitude once more. Still buzzing with excitement, Albie throws his hands up in the air, a wide grin plastered across his face, while Rin stands calmly beside him. His joy is palpable, a bright, sparkling energy radiating from him. Rin, however, simply offers a subtle, knowing smirk, his dark eyes holding a deeper satisfaction. The professor watches the scene unfold, his expression a complex mix of contemplation and concern. He then turns to the two students, instructing them to return to their seats, prompting an immediate, apologetic response from Albie. Dismissing them both, the older man watches as they begin to move, while Krista Warden stands nearby, her gaze fixed on Rin with clear displeasure. Her expression remains cold, a silent testament to her simmering resentment. As they walk away, Albie continues to beam, a soft, almost musical sound escaping him. Rin's eyes briefly flash with an intense, crimson glow, as Albie, still smiling, asks if something is amiss. As the older man's gaze sharpens, he demands to know what more they could possibly want to say, warning them not to force him to repeat himself, lest they face punishment. Suddenly, a flash of crimson eyes pierces the darkness, followed by a pair of golden ones, then a figure falling amidst a spray of red, a resolute thought echoing. I won't let it slide this time. The professor's harsh words echoed through the classroom as students were bombarded with a pop quiz, then forced to endure his abuse. And so, their first class began. Albie leaned over to Rin, quietly admitting that this part of the lesson was a bit difficult. Rin, however, remained unfazed, his expression unchanging. He glanced towards someone, perhaps wondering about their reaction, as the bell rang, signaling the end of the class. Observing the distressed faces of his students, the professor questioned, "What's with those faces? Are you finding even this difficult?" He then assured them, "Don't worry, I'll give you a chance to solve it by yourselves next time." But his words carried a chilling undertone. Those who couldn't catch up would be left behind, and for them, today meant life or death. The Grand Academy stood silent under the morning light. Inside, a student named Albie approached Rin Ludwig, his voice laced with concern as he began to speak. Rin merely hummed in response, a non-committal sound escaping him. His eyes briefly flickered with a faint red glow as he offered a curt thanks. Albie, growing increasingly agitated, exclaimed for him to get over himself. He wasn't talking about the pop quiz, he insisted, his voice rising in disbelief at Rin's composure. Albie pressed on, asking if he had heard that Owen was dead, to which Rin offered a simple, drawn-out acknowledgement. Albie continued, clarifying that it wasn't Krista, but that it had been a terrible death, while Rin simply noted that it made sense. The next day, the academy stood under a clear sky, seemingly undisturbed by the recent news. Rin, with a hint of amusement, questions the floor his companions are assigned to, noting it seems rather low for a top student, especially after he was asked not to mention it. He retorts that Albie was the one who brought it up, prompting a frustrated grunt from the other boy, who warns Rin that continued talk of his rank would lead to trouble. With a hurried, "Just wait," from the pink-haired student, Albie and she quickly turn and flee, their footsteps echoing as they rush away from Rin. As Rin continues his solitary walk through the academy's grand, echoing halls, he muses to himself about the situation, reflecting that Albie would have been the first to share a room with him, had he not been adopted. He eventually stops before an arched wooden door, wondering if this is his destination, his gaze fixed on the entrance. With a soft shop and a whoosh of energy, a magical seal on the door shatters into glowing particles, and the heavy wood creaks open. Stepping inside, Rin surveys the room, which is lined with bookshelves. It is, he observes, a single room. He lies in his new bed, the quiet of the room a stark contrast to his previous life, yet it feels as if only 2 days have passed since he arrived. Gazing out the window, he muses that in his past life, he was similarly confined to a room, spending all his days studying magic. The memory of endless books and solitary study still lingers, a familiar echo in his new surroundings. Suddenly, a jolt of realization shakes him, a subtle tremor of energy passing through the room. He collapses back onto his bed, the unexpected sensation leaving him momentarily stunned. His thoughts turn to his unique circumstances, realizing that beyond the first class, he has no other exceptions or special privileges. As he extends his hand, a crimson magic circle begins to form, testing the limits of his innate abilities. The symbol at its center flares with an intense, vibrant glow, pulsating with raw magical energy. His eye, now burning with a fierce red light, reflects the power he has just awakened. A crimson magic circle, emblazoned with a pentagram, pulsed with raw energy over a swirling, dark liquid, as a hand reached out towards its volatile core. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the room, and Rin jolted awake, his hand still outstretched, the bed frame beneath him splintering from an unseen force. A throbbing sensation pulsed behind his eyes, and he looked up, his gaze intense as his right eye continued to glow with an eerie red light. As he slowly sat up, a single feather drifted down before him, his glowing eye still fixed on something unseen. Perched on a branch, an owl-like creature with wide, observant eyes watched him. Later, now dressed in his academy robes, he gently held the creature, a soft expression on his face as he examined it. His attention then shifted to a small wooden box, wondering aloud about its presence, just as the owl flapped its wings and soared out the open window. The box itself bore a stark warning, a label clearly stating it was academy property and not to be opened. Holding the mysterious container, Rin noted the absence of Ascender's name, his expression hardening with resolve. He ponders his father's true intentions, discovering a significant item within a wooden box. In the library, he holds 2 books, one open and one closed, as his thoughts drift to their contents. His red eye glows faintly as he realizes one of them is incredibly ancient. He lifts the glowing, ancient tome, a profound recognition dawning upon him. A memory surfaces of Lista in her final moments, a painful reminder of leaving her behind. The scene shifts to a desolate landscape, where a figure stands in a long coat and boots, confirming the gravity of that past decision. Back in the present, Rin looks startled, still clutching the ancient book. His face contorts, eyes glowing with raw power, as he questions the very essence of his identity amidst a swirling, distorted world. A lone grave marker stands under a red-leaf tree, echoing his profound, unanswered questions about himself. He stands by the window, watching the relentless rain fall outside, a quiet moment of reflection after the harrowing events. A profound thought echoes in his mind, a quiet disbelief that he is somehow still alive. Within the sprawling campus magic tournament's Dragon Battle Arena, a colossal sandstorm golem soars through the air, as students like Albie, the pink-haired student, and the red-haired mage watch on with wide-eyed surprise. With only 15 seconds remaining on the clock, the golem continues its flight, seemingly unchallenged. Suddenly, Rin unleashes a burst of golden magical energy, his spell erupting with a powerful impact. Krista Warden watches the display, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face as the timer drops to 10 seconds, the sound of cracking magic echoing around her. She wonders if his actions are because he saw her, but he dismisses her entirely, claiming not to even know who she is, leaving her utterly shocked. Rin's magic then slams into the sandstorm golem, creating a massive explosion of light and force. Krista, still reeling from his words, finds it impossible to believe, frustrated that she ran into his annoying face again today, only for him to deny knowing her. A student with pink hair attempts to focus on her magic power control practice, but the ongoing tournament proves to be a significant distraction. Meanwhile, Rin observes the unfolding events, noting the rumors that someone was helped during the test. Her concentration completely shattered, the pink-haired student gasps in surprise, realizing something has already gone beyond the rules. In the student dorm's main break room, Albie also watches the tournament with keen interest. Seated with Albie and a red-haired mage, Rin greets someone with a teasing, "Hey, welcome, C-rank lover." As the events unfold, the identity of the young man on screen is revealed as Rohunam Wilbert, the successor of one of the 7 schools. Elsewhere, Logan, the dean of Grandia and another of the 7 schools, states, "You'll have to be part of the party." He muses on the importance of having someone who has your back. Rin and Logan continue to observe the screen, with Logan questioning the character's past actions, asking if he abandoned his partner, and wondering about his psychological state, whether he is a weak scholar or merely the advisor's boy. Dismissing his statement as unbecoming of a scholar, Logan, the dean of Grandia, finds his words met with a challenging glint in Rin's eye, who asks if he wants to fight. The dean retorts, questioning who wouldn't want to. A palpable tension hangs in the air, thick between the 2 men in the quiet study. A red-haired mage, standing nearby, reminds them that they are not alone in the room. Meanwhile, Lillian, the successor of Rivendell, one of the 8 schools, is engrossed in a book, as Logan's voice echoes, claiming they were just messing around. A slight smile plays on Logan's lips, suggesting a deeper meaning to his words. Lillian, still absorbed in her reading, muses aloud about the purpose of magical ability, questioning its value if not used effectively. Back in the study, Logan lightens the mood, declaring he was just joking, but Rin's response is firm and resolute. He intends to crush his opponents. Logan's gaze sharpens, warning Rin that he will be the first to fall if he dares to touch them. His footsteps echo with a heavy rhythm through the grand hall. As Logan turns, a scowl twisting his features. "Logan, that bastard," he mutters, his voice laced with venom. His eyes narrow, a silent question hanging in the air, when? A sudden, explosive force erupts from him, as he unleashes a powerful punch, the impact reverberating through the space. He reflects on the past, on the few lives lost, recalling how he once heard of a man who worked as a mercenary for 3 years, a master of religion. Meanwhile, Rin sits on his bed, engrossed in a book, pondering the ancient tales of even gods in the past and the two paths they took. The text before him details his own history, the first part chronicling Rin's life, and the second describing the magic sword battle style he once used. An unseen hand points to the intricate diagrams, prompting a silent question of how, and a challenge. And you think you can do it? Rin glances at the clock, noting the late hour. It's already 11, and he knows he should turn off the lights before the exam begins. As the whirring sound fills the quiet room, Rin reaches out, his hand extending towards a switch. A soft click echoes as he activates the light. He watches the now illuminated switch, a subtle shift in the room's ambience. Holding a book, his gaze sharpens, his eyes suddenly flaring with an intense red glow. With a lamp in hand, he turns towards the window, a sense of anticipation building. Then, with a soft whoosh, a luminous blue, butterfly-like entity materializes and ascends before him. The magical butterfly glows with an ethereal light, shimmering particles swirling around it with a gentle swish. As the entity continues its ascent, Rin takes a step back, magical motes scattering from his feet with a soft swoosh. Staring at the luminous form, he recognizes it instantly. Lucien? The one I met in my past life. As the luminous, blue butterfly-like entity hovers before him, he realizes the profound implications. He isn't the only one who has returned from the past. A faint smile touches his lips, as he questions the very nature of reality itself. Looking down, a faint scar visible on his cheek, he confirms his deepest suspicions. His memories were not a delusion. Reaching out towards the glowing form, he feels the truth within his grasp. Later, sitting on his bed, gazing at the ethereal butterfly, he reflects on this sudden day of hope. With the scar on his cheek a stark reminder of his past, he clears his mind, erasing all other thoughts. The luminous form of Lucien glows brightly, a beacon of his forgotten past. As blue energy crackles around him, he remembers the one who gave him strength. Rin reaches high for a book on a towering shelf. Retrieving it, he carefully places the volume onto a nearby table. Turning towards an arched doorway, he prepares to delve into his studies, ready to begin his research. Settling down with the book, titled Reincarnation of the Hero Party's Grand Stage, he notices the steady downpour outside. Gazing out at the rain, he muses on the warm, wet climate of the south, so different from the arid red mountains. Stepping out into the open, he finds a secluded spot where he can freely practice his magic. As rain streaks down, he conjures a glowing orb, realizing the season is perfect for his training. From inside, Kai observes the young mage, a gentle smile on his face as he offers his help. According to the ancient book from Paperheart, Rin finds himself within the Battling Dragon Arena, a place specifically designed for training destructive and long-range magic. Here, any magic cast is classified by its type and power, allowing practitioners to unleash their full potential without concern for their surroundings, as his companion explains, instructing him to present his magic identification card. With a bright flash, the young mage holds up his glowing identification card. The fiery arena glows around them. His companion then formally welcomes Rin Ludwig of the 4th class to the Battling Dragon Arena, informing him that 30 rooms are currently available for use. The young mage declares his intention to use room 1, the closest one, and requests a target to practice on, receiving immediate approval. Standing within a shimmering red barrier, he reiterates his desire for a strong opponent. A powerful whoosh of magic emanates from the ground as a large, glowing yellow magic circle activates beneath him. With a soft swoosh, the green robe of the young mage shifts as he prepares for battle. As Rin steps into the training room, a rustling sound echoes through the space, signaling the presence of a large, green, amorphous monster. He calmly assesses the situation, noting the target's classification as 2-star magic, which he considers manageable. With a decisive flip, he activates a glowing device, preparing for his practice. As the device hums to life, he briefly reviews the magic classification rules, ensuring he adheres to the arena's protocols. Then, with a confident gaze, he begins to form a triangular magic grid, glowing particles swirling around him. His hand moves with practiced ease, casting a vibrant red rune that whirs into existence. Suddenly, a shadowy, horned monster manifests before him, its presence met by a crackling, hissing red aura that flares around Rin. He observes the creature's formidable presence, muttering to himself that 1-star magic isn't enough to deal with it. With a surge of power, Rin unleashes a potent magical attack, impacting the shadowy monster with a forceful burst. He unleashes a torrent of crimson energy, the raw magical force erupting from his hands in rapid succession. The air around him distorts, swirling with vibrant red particles. With a final surge, the spell detonates, creating a massive, fiery explosion. From the dissipating smoke, a hulking, shadowy monster with glowing horns emerges, its form dismissing the attack as mere 1-star magic, poorly executed. Rin's expression hardens, acknowledging the monster's assessment of his tiny magic. Elsewhere, Owen observes, his thoughts echoing the monster's dismissive words about the spell's perceived weakness. But Rin is already transforming, engulfed in a blazing golden aura, his mind flashing back to a day when black magic tore through his soul, forcing him to abandon his comrades. He pushes forward, a memory of black magic tearing through his soul resurfacing. As Owen, the teaching assistant, observes, silently acknowledging the falsity of his own magic. The training orb begins to crack and crumble under the immense pressure, its core giving way, and Rin is left with the haunting thought of comrades he left behind. He finally accomplishes the task, letting out a weary breath. The orb's true nature is revealed, its core melting and filling with a grotesque, fleshy substance, exactly as Owen had intended. Rin, however, questions the outcome, wondering if the rank wasn't complete, or if it was merely a mathematical error. Later, in the quiet solitude of a study, he resolves to find the answers, his eyes glowing with a renewed determination to keep working until he finds the solution. He wonders who knew that magic research could make his heart pound so fast, as he observes two ethereal, glowing blue butterfly-like constructs hovering before him. These peculiar entities, unaffected by mana, possess a unique luster and can even serve as holy reliquaries, making them incredibly useful. Rin's expression hardens with resolve, as he ponders whether the mathematics behind his magic is becoming more complete, or if his own assumptions are simply being refined. He decides not to overthink it, reminding himself that he has plenty of time to unravel these mysteries. And with a soft swish of his robes, he begins to walk, a faint huh escaping him as the blue construct follows. A gentle swoosh accompanies his steps, as he receives news from the Dohyan school. Suddenly, a swarm of small, bat-like creatures begins to flutter and clutter around him. One of them twitches erratically, preparing to strike. Before it can, a hand glowing with vibrant green energy grasps forward. The force of the attack shatters the creature, its form dissolving into particles. Rin stands amidst the fading remnants, his body still radiating a powerful green aura. Suddenly, another creature strikes him from the side, the impact jarring his stance. Without hesitation, he retaliates with a powerful, green-infused punch. The creatures recoil and scatter as he continues to unleash his energy, repelling the swarm. His gaze sharpens, assessing the situation with intense focus. Green magical energy swirls around Rin, emanating from his hands as he considers the situation, thinking to himself, no wonder he goes around bragging so much. A powerful mage, wreathed in vibrant green energy, floats amidst a swirling magical expanse. He looks down at an ancient tome, a single thought echoing through his mind. But this was the past life of the Grand Mage, a legend now reincarnated, whose legacy included a complex magical concept known as the Rin Discriminate. In the present, the great mage Owen explains the fundamental principles of magic circles, emphasizing that even the slightest miscalculation in their 3 steps, setting the circle, applying runes, and performing calculations, could lead to catastrophic results. He continues, explaining that while lesser minds focus only on the final answer, he dissects the formula into its core components, a method he calls the Rin Discriminate. The task for the students is clear: use the Rin Discriminate to solve it. Owen anticipates their thoughts, acknowledging that smaller, simpler formulas exist, but clarifies that this particular discriminate is a powerful tool for understanding subtleties, not merely for solving problems. As the lecture continues, Rin's mind races, a profound question forming within him. Who gave him this formula? In a distant memory, a younger Rin stands amidst 2 companions, reflecting on the powerful formulas he once created, yet acknowledging one he could never solve. Meanwhile, in the present, Owen and Kai walk a forest path, discussing a journal given to Owen by the great mage Rin, wondering what could have happened to its original owner, and how Owen has been trying to solve its mysteries ever since. Kai then asks if he means the man who gave him the journal, to which Owen replies that it has been too long, and he is sure the great mage is already dead. Back in the classroom, Rin taps his fingers impatiently, when he suddenly hears a familiar voice, realizing it belongs to Professor Owen, who proudly declares himself the owner of a magician's journal, belonging to a genius said to be an upper-level mage. The young student then asks what the journal contains, but Owen hesitates, admitting he isn't sure. Rin then takes the book, asking what it is, and Owen identifies it as an oversized magic circle, confidently stating that Rin won't be able to solve it, before realizing that this must be the very journal he was discussing earlier. Rin, however, looks intently at the journal, a profound recognition dawning in his eyes. He sits hunched over his desk, lost in thought, a complex problem consuming his focus. Even a plate of cookies, usually a welcome distraction, barely registers in his periphery. Meanwhile, 2 professors, Owen and Kai, discuss the students' progress, with Kai expressing skepticism about a particular solution. Unaware of their conversation, the young man continues to murmur to himself, lost in the intricate calculations. Later, in the classroom, Owen marvels at the solution, declaring that no one knew finding complex roots could be so easy, and that Rin must be a true genius. Kai, now equally impressed, agrees, proclaiming him a god among students, perhaps even a heaven-sent angel. The other students, however, struggle to comprehend the advanced formula, finding it too complex to be correct, while Owen and Kai remain convinced of its brilliance. As the professors observe him, Rin's face begins to flush with an unexpected shyness. He glances away, perhaps wondering if his embarrassment is visible or if they might think he's simply shy over the cookies. He often seems aloof, but a young girl beside him observes that he always stays close, despite his seemingly superior attitude. His expression shifts to one of annoyance as an unseen voice questions his usual demeanor, to which he internally retorts that his behavior isn't intentional. Suddenly, the resonant sound of a bell echoes through the school grounds, signaling everyone to hurry as the bell for the club fair rings out. Amidst the bustling fourth-period club fair, he walks alongside the young girl, who asks him about his club choice. As they pass a booth, other students chatter about the pressure on children from magic families to uphold standards, a common sentiment he seems to overhear. He then engages with a bespectacled boy, questioning the relevance of magic volleyball to upholding magical standards, only to receive a rather unconvincing reply about it simply being a club. Deciding to explore on her own, the young girl bids him farewell, leaving him behind with a surprised "Hey, wait." The fair showcases various activities, including the intense sparring of the Battle Magic Club, where two figures clash with glowing magical energy. He eventually finds himself at the Fire Property Magic Club, observing a smaller figure conjuring vibrant flames, their magic crackling with orange and red particles. A roaring magical fire burns brightly, its flames reaching high into the air. Meanwhile, in a quiet room, the older man and Kai discuss Rin's future, with the older man explaining that he has given Rin space to explore his own interests, while Kai acknowledges the pressure of the family's reputation. Unaware of their conversation, Rin surveys the bustling club fair, noting the array of interesting clubs he plans to investigate. His thoughts are interrupted by a pink-haired girl, who urgently calls out to him, while Rin internally grumbles about her chaotic demeanor. He reminds her of their previous conversation, as she explains the mandatory club enrollment for magic families and the uncertainty even then. The girl laments that her father will never approve of her choices, a sentiment Rin finds hard to believe. As they pass a magic volleyball club, the girl explains its royal status, emphasizing the noble family's right to join any club, though Rin questions if it's truly required. Now alone, Rin's attention is drawn to the Fire Property Magic Club, finding it particularly intriguing. His eyes glow with a fierce red light, as a deeper truth resonates within him. While some fight for survival, others will inevitably covet what they desire once peace returns. In a quiet forest clearing, the older man speaks to Kai, reflecting that when one becomes an adult, the world will surely become even more abundant. And he hopes that Kai will be able to protect those lives. Meanwhile, back at the academy, a pink-haired girl calls out to Rin, asking if he heard her, then repeats, "Hello." As he continues to walk away, she asks, "Where are you going?" Rin pauses before a banner for the Community Development Magic Club, leaving the girl to wonder if he truly doesn't understand that magic volleyball is essential for socializing among high-class mages. As Rin observes the club fair, a deeper thought crosses his mind. The preservation of the Ludwig family's bloodline has been a concern for the Page family for over a century, and it might very well end with his own generation. He recalls that the eldest grandson of the Page family mysteriously vanished. And now he wonders if the Ludwig family is also facing a similar fate. Something has vanished from the scene, leaving behind a lingering question. Has the fated time finally arrived? A definitive yes echoes as the declaration rings out. The age of Krista Ludwig is about to begin. Meanwhile, a vibrant young woman spins with delight as someone joyfully exclaims, "Lady Krista." Her gaze then settles on a grand, imposing structure, and she finds herself standing alone, bathed in the stark glow of a single spotlight. As dark, ethereal energy begins to swirl around her, prompting Krista Ludwig to question, "What is the meaning of this?" "I see," Rin responds, as the pink-haired student vehemently declares, "I definitely don't follow you." "Okay, are you listening?" He simply reiterates, "I see." Standing before the entrance to the Community Development Magic Club, the student questions, "Is that it?" She throws her hands up in exasperation, unable to accept the terms. "I can't accept those conditions." A new voice cuts in, asserting, "The weak are weeded out. Isn't that the rule, DeLayton?" The man, DeLayton, steps forward, his gaze firm. "We'll use this clubroom, so hand it over." The pink-haired student turns to Rin, whispering, "Who's that guy, Rin?" He looks back, surprised. "You really don't know? That's the club leader of the charm school, DeLayton." An older man with glasses explains the nature of the Community Development Magic Club, noting that it produces mages based on martial magic, a fact Rin already knows. He continues, stating that the club is particularly relevant to Four Eyes, like himself, then rhetorically asks why it's so important to him, before concluding that no one truly knows. This situation, he clarifies, happens often, as starting any club activity requires securing a clubroom. He gestures, explaining that if one wishes to form a club but all rooms are taken, there's only one option left. That option, he reveals, is to simply steal another club space. Rin and the pink-haired student react with surprise as he confirms this is the accepted method, and everyone must accept the terms. The pink-haired student questions if the charm school is attempting to steal their clubroom, to which the professor responds with a firm refusal to accept such terms, clarifying that the charm school produces mages based on charm magic, and its leader is DeLayton. He warns that DeLayton possesses advanced magic, but is a monster who uses it to control people. The pink-haired student, ever hopeful, suggests that if they can find a solution, they might be able to keep the club room and utilize the professor's magic. But he quickly dismisses the idea, insisting they definitely cannot. He explains that for those who wield magic, especially within the academy, he lets out a booming laugh, his voice laced with disbelief, as Kai questions the possibility of other mages having already claimed the clubroom. With a sudden surge of power, the professor unleashes a magical blast, a crackling discharge of energy that sends Kai recoiling, warning him of the immense power he's toying with. He then dismisses the idea that mere minors could possibly change anything against their formidable opponent. His expression hardens, a furious disbelief etched across his face as he demands to know if they truly believe Delayton and his useless bastards can take over the club. Meanwhile, the pink-haired student confronts Rin, her voice tinged with frustration, accusing him of talking big but being too scared to battle, calling him a coward, and urging him to help instead of standing idly by. Rin grips her arm firmly, his expression serious, as she cries out in despair, admitting her inability to act. His grip remains tight, and she trails off, unable to articulate her feelings, simply sighing, "Oh, well." Suddenly, Delayton bursts forward, a blur of motion, his form wreathed in dark energy, and his eyes glowing crimson, moving at an incredible speed. His attack connects with a powerful, crackling impact, sending out a burst of yellow energy. The bearded man observes his surroundings, noting the incredible density of magic power permeating the air. His eyes widen slightly, as he seems to recognize something profound within the magical flow. Nearby, Rin stands with the pink-haired student, both observing the unfolding magical phenomenon with focused expressions. Above them, the sky shimmers with a vibrant, ethereal glow, reflecting the immense magical energy at play. Before them, an ornate, glowing gate stands tall, a testament to the unique magic research being conducted within the surrounding environment. A holographic display flickers into view, showing the progress of the research, now advancing from 37.1% to 37.9%. The bearded man's hand hovers over a swirling magic circle, manipulating the immense power that seems to be scattering around him. He clarifies that the magic isn't truly scattering, but rather beginning to form a crack in the middle of the lake, which can then be utilized as magic water. Later, on a serene beach, Rin sits peacefully, observing an older woman with long white hair who rests nearby. A vision of a white-haired woman appears, as a voice questions if one can still use magic spells after the true over. And the answer comes, describing spells so simple, anyone could wield them, leading to the thought of magic that could genuinely aid those in distress. Or even just make everyday life a little more convenient. This was the kind of magic being discussed. Elsewhere, Rin's eyes blaze crimson, then shift to an intense electric blue, his gaze fixed on something unseen. A gray-haired man, startled, wonders aloud if a new member has arrived, cutting himself off in frustration. Nearby, a man with glasses recoils in fear, shielding a terrified Krista behind him. While Rin's eyes flash red once more, a self-deprecating chuckle escaping him as he admits to a bad habit of thinking aloud. A voice questions the arrival of a new member, wondering if it's the one who mentioned a new blood vein. Kai, looking directly at Rin, asks if he heard correctly, inquiring if he mentioned a new member. Rin's eye glows with a faint crimson light as he confirms, that is correct. If Kai is truly afraid, he offers to be his opponent. Kai, taken aback by the challenge, asks if he's serious, while Rin simply thinks to himself. Rin then declares that he won't use any combat magic, knowing that Kai is aware of this limitation. Kai, still facing him, questions if that's truly enough, before adding that he will then proceed. Rin, looking away, admits he doesn't think he'll be able to win with that, while Kai, with a surprised expression, asks if he's serious. Krista bursts into laughter at Rin's statement, while he mutters that she's not a magician, just nuts. Kai, holding his head in exasperation, reminds Rin that it takes 3 days for club registration to be approved, implying a delay in their potential confrontation. He simply stares, allowing the other man to continue his challenge, which now includes a refusal and a demand for a magic battle, before urging him to get to the point. Kai then offers a wager. If you win, fine. I'll give up this club. Meanwhile, the club leader, Delayton, observes, finding the situation amusing, while Krista is chided for bringing Rin here. Krista tries to interject, explaining that Rin felt belittled, but he cuts her off with a sharp gesture. Are you kidding? Rin asks, incredulous that Kai would only give up a club. Kai confirms his offer, then sharply tells Krista to stay out of it. Delayton, however, finds the prospect of a duel exciting, declaring his intention to attend. Kai, laughing, tells Rin to choose the date and time, asserting he'll fight whenever. Without hesitation, Rin declares, there's no need to delay it. Tonight at 8 p.m., the dueling hall. Delayton watches intently as a sharp, cracking sound echoes, a clear signal that the duel has begun. He anticipates the unfolding events, knowing he will be waiting here for the outcome. Then, with a sudden, overwhelming force, a massive magical explosion erupts, filling the air with raw power. The sounds of footsteps echo through the Grand Academy halls as Rin walks alongside other students, overhearing their hushed whispers about a girl's good fortune and how pleased the master and others would be. As he enters a building, a red-haired man in glasses nearby suddenly reacts with a shocked exclamation, a blue magical aura flaring around him as he cries out, "What the hell is this?" Rin continues his walk down a quiet hallway, the earlier commotion fading behind him. Spotting a pink-haired student, he calls out to her, demanding to know why she would involve herself in a magic battle, and if she truly understood her place. The student, covering her face, retorts that she is merely a freshman from a common university, and tells him not to joke around. She remains silent for a moment, her expression filled with distress. Then, with a sigh of resignation, she concedes, stating that he can do whatever he wants, and that she is the one causing annoyance. Later, sitting at his desk and reading a book, Rin ponders to himself, wondering why she was so angry. He still couldn't shake the words from his mind, the idea that some things were simply beyond his rank, impossible to truly grasp. He pondered his own experiences, wondering why he had never truly faced a life-threatening situation, a question that lingered in his thoughts. The notion that one might lose more than they gain in such encounters was a common sentiment, yet he found himself more thankful than grateful for certain outcomes, still unsure of the true motivations behind his own actions or those of others. He hadn't been trying to help, not really, feeling as though he still had a role to complete, a purpose yet undefined. His thoughts then turned to Logan, a figure of immense power. He knew he was thankful for whatever Logan had done, but he also sensed that many underestimated the true extent of his capabilities. Logan, a strength-type mage, was renowned for his exceptional prowess, even among those who specialized in long-range magic, a fact that made his reputation all the more impressive. Tales spoke of his incredible physique and a notoriously dirty temper, with rumors of numerous past battles preceding him, each one adding to his fearsome legend. Indeed, Logan stood tall amidst the wreckage of a brutal confrontation, his imposing form casting a shadow over the defeated figures of Delayton and the pink-haired student, a testament to his overwhelming power. Returning to his own thoughts, Rin concluded that this outcome, this entire situation, was ultimately a part of him, a direct result of the choices he had made. He acknowledges the grand words he once spoke to Logan, yet internally admits that the club itself isn't quite as impressive as he made it sound. His mind drifts to his humble origins, recalling how the people of his impoverished village had pooled their meager money to fund his tuition. That unwavering support was the true reason he had joined the club, driven by a desire to repay their unconditional kindness and the hope they placed in him. He had entered the academy with aspirations of magic research, but the reality proved far more difficult than simply saying it, and his anxiety and desperation only intensified with time. Admitting to himself that he clung to the research project for purely selfish reasons, he ultimately found himself with no tangible results. A wave of self-doubt washes over him, whispering that he is pathetic, and perhaps this is a sign from a higher power to simply give up. But then, a sudden shift, a determined smile breaks through as he apologizes for his fleeting weakness, declaring his intent to fight in the magic battle as it truly should be fought. He challenges his own self-deprecating thoughts, questioning what truly defines pathetic. His eyes, once filled with doubt, now ignite with a fierce, crimson glow, a powerful resolve burning within him. He reaches for the magic books, knowing he needs to get along with the club members if he wants to utilize these resources in the upcoming battle. As he turns to leave, promising to return them soon, a voice calls out, "Wait, Lord Rain." Meanwhile, another student, looking surprised, asks, "Do you know the Grand Mage Rin started magic?" Rain, lost in thought, reflects on his own journey, remembering that for him, it was simply to survive. He muses that everyone begins their magical journey for personal reasons, each driven by their own unique motivations. The Grand Academy stands majestically under the clear sky, its walls holding countless secrets and ambitions. Inside, the bearded man and the older man whisper amongst themselves, wondering if word of Rain's recent actions has already spread. Suddenly, Rain is startled, his name echoing through the hall, pulled abruptly from his contemplation. He glances up, his sharp red eyes narrowing, as the club leader, Delayton, reveals himself, his long black robe flowing around him. His hand shooting out to grab Rain by the collar with a firm grip, mockingly asking, "Boo." "Of course." His face contorted in annoyance, Delayton declares, "I've been exhausted from a lack of sleep recently, but I'm fully awake now thanks to you, punk." The news of the Ludwig Club's recent disaster, a magic battle, had clearly reached him. Holding Rain tightly, Delayton presses, "You're the one who caused the incident at the 8th District, right? It's been a while since I've seen you, but..." Continuing, "My cute little sister made a big mess, didn't she?" Rain, meanwhile, internally laments, "I have an hour for daydreaming today. I'm never going to be able to sleep." Delayton warns him, "It'll hurt loads more than this if you get beaten up by Logan. Don't act like a wimp, fool." Finally releasing his grip, Delayton asks, "Did you come to the club workshop?" With a smirk, he adds, "Worried? You're asking me if I'm worried about someone who's going to beat you up? What are you talking about? You're the best of the best." A sharp voice cuts through the hallway, demanding Rin come to his senses, leaving him to offer a quiet apology, explaining that he hadn't realized magic battles were forbidden. But the black-haired student, her expression firm, declares she won't allow their family's reputation to be tarnished. She continues, acknowledging it might not have been his fault, but emphasizing that the family name is now at stake, and his reckless behavior could lead to banishment in the worst-case scenario. Rin tries to interject, but she cuts him off, expressing annoyance that he's fighting for a useless mana guard, whatever battle he's engaged in. Her finger points accusingly, her face a mask of frustration. She reminds him that the Ludwig family's name now rests on his shoulders. And with a final, challenging command, she tells him to show everyone what he's capable of. A triumphant cry echoes across the academy grounds. He stands calmly, facing the man who challenges him, as the other declares his unwavering resolve. With a grimace, the man insists, "Of course, I won't fall." He then reflects on his past, acknowledging, "That was my mistake from the start." Meanwhile, Rin listens, his expression composed. A murmur of confusion ripples through the students, some questioning the sudden commotion. Others, already moving away, wonder aloud where their companions are headed. The source of the disturbance seems to involve someone known as Lord Disaster Chamek's muscle for brains, as distant figures can be seen engaged in a fierce struggle. From a different vantage point, Owen observes the unfolding chaos, wondering who his companion is searching for. Kai, standing beside him, mentions Lauren and Sane, implying their involvement in the current events. Owen dismisses the usual considerations of reputation, blood relations, and academic connections, asserting their irrelevance in this situation. A haunting memory surfaces of a day when black magic tore through his very soul, forcing him to leave his comrades behind. In the present, a guild official announces that the upcoming magic battle has been approved, to which a dark-haired student responds with a casual, "Of course." His opponent, a light-haired man, introduces himself as Tion, declaring this to be his magic battle. The official continues, explaining that the guild will ensure the defeated party pays the prize to the victor, as Rin listens intently. With the rules established, the official instructs both sides to step forward, and Rin begins to move. The two combatants stand ready, facing each other across the arena. Tion makes the first move, a white aura flaring around him as he launches his attack. The force of the blow sends Rin reeling, a red impact aura erupting around him. Tion stands triumphant, a white glow still surrounding him as he looks down at his fallen opponent. As the hooded figure approaches, a young woman with vibrant pink hair turns to greet him, her voice carrying a hint of expectation as she addresses him as Lady Krista. She quickly clarifies her presence, stating she isn't there to witness a whipping, but rather to observe a display of mastery, to which the hooded figure simply responds with a confident sure. Meanwhile, in a more somber setting, a bearded man, an older man, and Kai stand together, discussing the implications of a recent event, with one noting that the guild would cover the damages, while another expresses doubt about trusting someone. Under a starlit sky, the hooded figure, Rain Ludwig, contemplates his next challenge, a question hanging in the air about how he will face Logan, followed by a soft, decisive sound. Now clad in a pristine white uniform, Rain stands alongside Kai, both appearing focused in the bright, open air. A small crowd gathers, their faces upturned, observing the scene with keen interest. Rain, still in his white attire, holds a long, ornate staff, its presence suggesting a moment of preparation or demonstration. Kai, now shirtless and observing, remarks that he initially thought Rain was merely holding a wooden stick, before concluding that his initial assessment was not incorrect. The air fills with a sudden burst of laughter, a light-hearted moment amidst the training. As the laughter echoes across the training grounds, a small figure stands in the distance, while in the foreground, a young man looks down at the amused crowd. Nearby, the bearded man turns to Kai, a wry smile playing on his lips, asking if they're there to clean, as more laughter fills the air. From another vantage point, the older man and Krista watch, the pink-haired student exclaiming in disbelief that Lord Disaster is fighting with a broom, joining the chorus of chuckles. Unfazed by the mockery, Rin holds up the broom, explaining to Kai that he borrowed it from the library, a deluxe model freshly cleaned, as Kai continues to laugh beside him. Meanwhile, Logan, shirtless and bandaged, looks on in utter disbelief, questioning if this is truly a magic battle, and if he's even allowed to participate in such a farce. Facing Rin, Logan's frustration boils over, accusing him of being a coward and mocking his choice to fight with a broom despite being a mage, demanding his money back. As the unseen voice urges Lord Rain to end the spectacle and avoid embarrassing himself and the university, Rin clutches his head, clearly exasperated by the situation. He mutters to himself, reflecting on how long it's been since he last visited the university, and the irony that they are all mages, yet he's the one with the broom. The laughter continues to ring out, as Logan stands, looking down, still processing the absurdity of the situation. He stares in disbelief, his eyes wide with shock, as the man beside him questions his reaction, wondering why he looks as if he's seen a ghost. The observer then adds that this isn't someone who can't spell, as Logan, regaining his composure, declares his refusal to mourn, only for Rin to calmly correct him, stating he is not Logan. Taken aback by Rin's sudden proximity, Logan recoils, warning him to stay back. A formal voice cuts through the tension, announcing that as protocol states, the terms will be confirmed one more time. From the sidelines, Kai lets out a small sound of surprise as the voice continues, explaining that if Rain is disqualified, he will be forced to drop out of the academy. And, the voice adds, if Logan is disqualified, he will be punished with community service and a demotion in rank. Delayton, now standing between the two combatants, looks at them expectantly, asking if they both accept the severe terms. With a satisfied nod, he confirms their acceptance, then instructs both of them to step behind the designated line. As magical energy crackles and lightning flashes around the arena, the voice declares that the battle will begin in 10 seconds. He stands poised in the center of the grand arena, golden energy swirling around him, facing his opponent. As the final seconds tick away, a mystical clock glows with ancient power, marking the imminent start of the battle. Elsewhere, a young student urges her companion, sensing the duel's commencement. The dark-haired woman, holding a newspaper, questions her friend's lack of interest in watching the significant magic battle. She notes the student's unusual calm, to which the pink-haired girl responds with a cryptic remark about composure. The dark-haired woman presses further, asking if the duelist isn't her friend, but the student dismisses it, calling her merely a rival. A subtle smirk plays on the dark-haired woman's lips, betraying her amusement. Meanwhile, a muscular man, his eyes glowing red with fury, struggles against an unseen restraint, declaring he doesn't need to witness the fight. Back in the arena, the battle has concluded, its outcome already decided. A dark, jagged object, glowing with an ominous light, seems to tear through the void. Meanwhile, a grand, circular structure stands majestically under a clear sky, its presence dominating the landscape as autumn leaves drift around its base. Rin watches a powerful, muscular figure, urging someone to observe closely, for they would never again witness such a sight. With a sudden whoosh of green energy, he unleashes a spell, determined to change the secret power before him and overcome it. As a low rumble echoes, the pink-haired student beside him urgently insists they must escape the area. The muscular figure's power intensifies, his body rippling with glowing green veins and emitting a guttural hiss, a clear demonstration that the charm school's influence extended far beyond mere persuasion. With the rumbling continuing, Rin's expression hardens as he acknowledges the dire situation and the rapidly dwindling time. From a distance, the Layton observes the unfolding events, reflecting on the control displayed and understanding why this individual held the leadership of the charm school. Letting out a small sound of resolve, Rin realizes he will have to resort to using a particular ability. The muscular opponent, radiating a potent green aura, declares his intent to end the confrontation swiftly, his voice rumbling with power. Meanwhile, Rin exhales slowly, his expression calm as he prepares for the inevitable impact. The opponent closes the distance with blinding speed, descending from above in a powerful, earth-shattering strike. Behind him, the pink-haired student and Delayton watch with bated breath, as Rin faces the full force of the assault. With eyes still closed, Rin prepares for the moment of impact. The opponent's fist connects with a jarring force, but Rin meets it with an unyielding stance. Suddenly, a surge of energy erupts from Rin, repelling the attacker. This is overdrive, a technique that defies physical limitations, creating a magical layer on the skin to defend against attacks. By exploding the magic at the precise moment of impact, Rin effectively repels the incoming assault, his skin glowing with intricate magical patterns. The muscular opponent pulls back his fist, a crimson aura flaring around him as he vows to end the fight with a single, decisive blow. His attack, deemed unblockable, connects with a powerful impact, a green glow briefly appearing on his forearm. But as the blow lands, Rin's overdrive ability erupts, a burst of magic repelling the force with a sharp piety. His eyes blaze with an intense, golden light, the raw power of his magic surging through him. With a powerful surge, Rin's counterattack sends the muscular opponent reeling backward, magic swirling violently around him. The force of the impact lifts him off his feet, sending him flying through the air with a loud Ka. He hurtles through the open space, a distant POW, marking his trajectory. Finally, with a resounding WHA, the opponent crashes violently into a distant barrier, particles exploding around him. Rin stands firm, watching the distant figure, his counterattack having decisively ended the exchange. A man with spectacles gazes thoughtfully to his left, his expression unreadable. Meanwhile, the force of the impact sends the muscular opponent reeling through the air, his body twisting unnaturally as Rin's raw power repels him. The sheer display of magic leaves onlookers stunned, with Tion's face etched in disbelief. Even the seasoned Professor Owen and Kai watch with wide eyes, their expressions a mix of shock and concern. The unnamed opponent continues his uncontrolled descent, a blue magical residue still clinging to his form as he plummets. Professor Owen, his brow furrowed in deep thought, begins to recognize the unique energy signature, murmuring about the Osirius school's techniques. This staff fighting technique he refers to as a legendary art, one that propelled the Osirius school to prominence over a millennium ago with its overwhelming might. Yet, despite its historical significance, the technique had slowly faded into obscurity, becoming largely forgotten. As a new figure confidently wields the ancient staff, Krista finds it strange to witness such a technique in modern combat, while Rin laments his inability to assist with his own magic. How is a mere cleaning broom capable of such power? The question hangs in the air as a young man, Ludwig, channels immense energy, glowing lines appearing across his face and neck, leaving onlookers to wonder how he is able to wield such a technique. He spins through the air, a whirlwind of motion, the staff a blur around him. Kai watches, his expression a mix of awe and disbelief, as the powerful swish of the technique echoes through the training grounds. The source of this incredible power is revealed to be a simple, yet ancient, artifact, the legendary broom of the Seven Claws, now glowing with raw magical energy. Professor Owen, ever the analyst, ponders the implications, wondering how a mere cleaning broom could withstand such an overdrive, and if Ludwig modified the item himself, or if this is some forbidden magic control at play. The student continues his dazzling display, the broom a blur of motion around him, leaving a trail of swirling wind in his wake. Finally, with a soft tat, as the broom settles, Ludwig lets out a relieved sigh, his demonstration complete. The sheer power of the technique elicits a collective gasp of woe from the stunned observers. Logan lies on the ground, groaning in pain as another figure stands over him, while Tion watches the scene unfold. The force of the attack had blasted him away, leaving him sprawled on the arena floor. His body seemed to crack and shatter from the impact, leaving Tion to wonder what kind of power could inflict such damage. Still, the injured man manages to look up, surprised that his opponent remains standing. 10 seconds have passed since the last exchange, but the demonstration is far from over. Ludwig stands tall, broom in hand, facing the injured Logan. Despite his wounds, Logan scoffs, dismissing his opponents as mere rookies. But the broom in Ludwig's hand begins to twirl with incredible speed, a whirlwind of motion. He holds the magical artifact ready, poised to unleash its full power. A hulking figure, covered in glowing green markings, tenses for a powerful lunge, his entire body coiled with raw strength. Observing the impending attack, Rin notes the familiar intensity of the situation, a thought echoing in his mind that things are escalating once more. With a guttural grunt, the muscular opponent commits fully, his jaw clenched in fierce determination. He lunges forward with explosive speed, a blur of motion aimed directly at the young mage. But Rin is faster, evading the strike, and the opponent crashes heavily into the ground, leaving a deep crater in his wake. The force of the exchange, however, sends Rin tumbling backward, his body arcing through the air. He descends rapidly, a blur against the arena floor. With a final, heavy impact, Rin hits the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust and debris. The arena floor continued to crumble, shards of rock raining down from the impact. From above, a young woman with pink hair and a male companion watched intently, as the massive, green-glowing figure below them braced for another strike. More debris fell around the observers, their gazes fixed on the unfolding battle. Suddenly, the muscular opponent was sent flying through the air, a powerful impact launching him upward with a sharp ta. Rin, staff held firmly, stood ready, his expression a mask of intense concentration. The airborne figure crashed down with a deafening wham, creating a blinding explosion of force and debris. His green glowing leg struck the ground, sending a shockwave rippling outward. The residual force echoed with a series of POW pows, as dust and particles filled the air. Even after the direct hit, the sheer concussive force threw Rin backward, his body recoiling amidst the swirling dust. Dust and debris still hung heavy in the air from the previous exchange. When Logan, without hesitation, brought his massive staff sweeping down with a powerful swish. The impact erupted in a vom, sending vibrant, blue magical energy swirling outwards. But Rin was ready, his eyes glowing crimson as he instantly manifested a shimmering circular barrier with a SWSH to meet the assault. Without missing a beat, he thrust his hand forward, launching a concentrated magical projectile with a WHOSH. The counterattack struck Logan squarely, sending him flying backward, enveloped in a burst of green energy. He slammed into the ground with a resounding boom, the force of the impact shaking the very arena. Even from a distance, the residual shockwave was immense, causing Rin to recoil sharply amidst the flying debris. As the dust began to settle, the aftermath of their clash became starkly visible. The desolate training grounds lay scarred and barren, a testament to raw magical power. Suddenly, a figure with vibrant green hair emerges, his body etched with glowing emerald lines, a powerful aura radiating from him. He finds himself half submerged in a churning pool of mud, a frustrated grunt escaping his lips, as if evaluating the unexpected outcome of his spell. With a swift, almost imperceptible motion, the green-haired man rises from the mire, the glowing lines on his skin pulsing with renewed energy. A powerful whoosh of magic erupts around him as he muses aloud, realizing he'd forgotten the specific incantation for this 2-star magic. He stands on a small, dry rock, looking up at the sky, a hint of dissatisfaction in his voice, questioning if this chaotic display truly qualifies as a 2-star magic when he's nearly drowning in its aftermath. Meanwhile, a young man with dark hair observes the scene, a confident smile playing on his lips, pondering the utility of such a powerful, albeit messy, demonstration. A crowd of students and professors, including Tion and Delayton, murmur amongst themselves, their hushed voices filling the air as they process the display. Krista Ludwig and the older man also join the hushed conversation, their expressions a mix of awe and contemplation. On the scene, the older man observes the unfolding magic, remarking that it is a complete strategy for neutralizing an enemy's mana. Meanwhile, the younger bearded man, his body glowing with green energy, expresses disbelief at his own power, wondering how a mere 2-star mage could be so potent, having immediately neutralized the enemy's mana. He questions how he, a 2-star mage, could wield such magic. Nearby, Kai, looking surprised, muses on the unexpected complexity of the situation, pondering who would have considered such an intricate arithmetic of magic. Rin, observing the glowing figure, calmly states that it will all be over soon, while the younger bearded man simply acknowledges his words. With a swift, powerful motion, the younger bearded man unleashes the full force of his spell. Both the older man and Kai watch with wide eyes, their expressions a mixture of awe and concern. The spell culminates in a massive, muddy crater, with the younger bearded man now submerged within it, as other distant observers and Rin look on, a question mark hanging in the air regarding the outcome. Despite being covered in mud, the younger bearded man's body still glows with green energy, his face showing signs of exhaustion from the immense magical exertion. As he clenches his fist, Kai, now understanding, realizes that the younger bearded man had deployed a barrier even while trapped in the mud, a testament to his strategic prowess. A powerful, unseen force grips the very air, manifesting with loud, percussive impacts. Emerging from the depths of his previous spell, the bearded man stands resolute atop a rocky peak, gazing upward at the vast, open sky. Below, both Rin and the older man watch on, their faces etched with a mixture of surprise and growing concern. His own eye, meanwhile, narrows with an intense, unwavering focus. As his power surges, the very ground beneath him begins to crack and crumble, unable to withstand the pressure. The observers, including Karen Ludwig, can only watch in wide-eyed astonishment as the demonstration intensifies. With a sudden, blinding flash, a powerful burst of energy erupts from the bearded man, sending debris scattering. The concentrated force of his magic manifests as a glowing, impactful projection. Finally, his fist, alight with vibrant green energy, strikes with devastating force, the raw power of his technique undeniable. As if observing the very essence of life and energy, the demonstration continued. With the bearded man now entangled in thick, gnarled roots, a strained expression on his face, as he mused that the effect only lasted about 10 minutes. These roots, born from his magic, had grown into a massive, towering structure, reaching towards the sky. From a distance, Kai and the pink-haired student watched in astonishment, realizing this was magic that could revive life in dead plants. The bearded man, still caught in the intricate web of his own creation, reiterated his thought that the effect only lasted about 10 minutes. But with a determined gaze, he revealed that this same power could be used in other ways too. As the roots around him began to glow with an eerie light, his face contorted in concentration, he focused on the roots themselves. With a powerful surge of green energy, he began to tear free, explaining that he only used a small amount of magic as a trigger, and with a sharp snap, the thick root in his hand shattered, demonstrating his absolute control. As the magical demonstration reaches its climax, a look of profound distress washes over Owen's face, with strange green lines beginning to glow across his skin. Meanwhile, Rin's eyes blaze with an intense red light, his grip tightening on a now broken staff, as he questions, "Shall we wrap this up?" A hand reaches out, grasping a simple wooden staff, as if preparing for what is to come. Meanwhile, high above a vast, open landscape, two figures stand on a precipice, one asking the other if they truly desire this particular individual. Suddenly, a memory or vision flashes, as Rin finds himself overwhelmed, debris and dirt covering his face as he clenches his jaw in frustration. His eyes glow with a fierce yellow light, as he screams out in defiance against the crushing force. Within the chaos, shadowy figures with piercing red eyes emerge, their presence adding to his torment. The pressure intensifies, green energy crackling around him, as he struggles to break free from the overwhelming grip. Finally, completely engulfed in the debris, he lets out a final, desperate cry. Then, as if waking from a nightmare, Rin finds himself clean and unharmed, looking at his hand with a puzzled expression, wondering if he had overexerted himself with the spell. Two men struggle, ensnared in a thick, brown, sticky substance that clings to them, making movement nearly impossible. One of them attempts to kick free, but the viscous material holds fast, a voice noting that the magic's power should be adjusted based on the target's mana for future reference. A pained grunt escapes one of the trapped individuals, who is then reassured with a calm, almost detached, "Don't worry." Meanwhile, Rin, his eyes now covered by a black blindfold, carefully examines a small piece of the very same sticky substance. Beneath the blindfold, a faint, ethereal glow emanates from his eyes, signaling the activation of his magical power. His expression remains resolute, a testament to his unwavering focus. Another sharp cry of "ah" echoes from the trapped man, as the substance tightens its grip. With a swift swoosh, Rin wields his staff, manipulating the sticky material around the two struggling figures. His task seemingly complete, Rin turns and walks away, leaving the two men still caught in the magical snare. A man's head and shoulders emerge from a muddy prison, his voice laced with indignation as he protests the help he's receiving. From behind him, Rin calmly declares that it is over. The trapped man's face contorts in anger as Rin's magic tightens its hold, silencing his protests. Looking down at his captive, Rin states with a detached tone that he now understands the sting of being beat up. He then advises the man to be nice and cease his delinquent behavior, his words carrying an undeniable authority. Standing tall and composed beside the now solidified mud pillar, Rin surveys his work. The man remains trapped, his face a mask of discomfort and frustration, unable to escape the magical restraint. A deeper reflection begins, contemplating a power that could erase all memory, a power inherent in the very world of magic. A voice, perhaps an inner one, scolds the fool still clinging to the past, reminding them of the true nature of the world of magic. The ground beneath the man erupted, mud and earth cracking and rumbling as it ensnared him, launching him into the air. He shot upwards with a whoosh, his body twisting amidst the debris. As he began his descent, a dazed thought escaped him, wondering if he had truly fallen. Meanwhile, Rin looked on, a quiet realization dawning on him that he had forgotten something important. The man continued to plummet, helplessly tumbling through the air. Mid-fall, an unseen force struck him again, his body recoiling from the impact. With a dull thud, the man hit the ground, as Rin, holding a glowing potion, calmly declared that victory had been decided long ago, and therefore, this didn't truly count as an attack. A group of students watched the scene unfold, their faces a mixture of shock and awe. The unnamed man lay defeated in a crater of mud, his body still and unconscious. With a casual air, the young mage holds a thin stick between his lips, his gaze sharp and unwavering. Meanwhile, in the bustling arena, a distinguished man in uniform stands before the roaring crowd, his expression a mixture of anticipation and slight bewilderment. He fumbles with a pair of scissors, dropping them in surprise as the announcement begins to echo through the air. A booming voice declares the victor, proclaiming, "The winner is Rain Ludwig." The crowd erupts in a woohoo as the camera pans over the vast arena floor, showing the two small figures at its center, the victor and the vanquished. From the stands, students gasp in astonishment, their eyes wide with disbelief at the outcome. Even the seasoned observers, including Kai and the older man, let out surprised exclamations, clearly impressed by the display of power. As Rain stands alone in the center of the vast arena, his butler, Karen Ludwig, approaches him with a solemn stride, ready to offer his respects. With a deep bow, Karen Ludwig addresses him with utmost reverence, acknowledging his status with a respectful, "Lord Rain." He bows his head slightly, expressing his sincere gratitude for the recent favor, unsure how he could ever repay such a debt. The bearded man chuckles softly, assuring him there's no need for repayment. But Rain insists, mentioning the three distinct kinds of magic he had employed. The professor, however, corrects him, explaining that those were merely other forms of magic, not necessarily complex, but their true utility remained unknown. He then adds that the efforts of his seniors were far from wasted. Rain, realizing his potential misstep, quickly apologizes for overstepping. The professor then shifts the conversation, asking if he could request something of him. With his eyes glowing a fierce red, Rain smiles, urging the professor to continue developing magical theory, even if it was currently too advanced for his own understanding. The professor, clearly taken aback by the intensity of his gaze and his words, assures him that he will do a good job. A flash of raw power manifests, revealing sharp, predatory fangs. Meanwhile, Kai stands beside another, lost in thought. A question echoing in his mind. What would Lista have said? He quickly dismisses the thought, reminding himself, "No, let's not think about it. I'm not Lista." Still, the weight of his past lingers. As he hopes to have redeemed himself a little. The grand building stands under the moonlight, a silent witness to a time when the weak lord beat up Lista. Kai's gaze shifts, a subtle glance revealing the depth of his contemplation. In a searing memory, a younger Rin, his red hair ablaze with youthful defiance, faces the bearded man, who sternly reminds him, "I told you to call me Professor. Did you forget already?" Later, in a more subdued present, Rin stands shirtless, his back to the gray-haired man, bowing deeply as commanded, a silent acknowledgement of his transgression. The older man sighs, a weariness in his voice. Rest up." His expression tightens with concern, muttering about the impending wrath of the elders. "The elders are going to beat me to a pulp." He then addresses Rin directly, his tone firm. "Drop the grand act. Don't get full of yourself because you're the school's successor." Rin, still in his submissive posture, responds with a quiet, "Yes, sir." The older man's thoughts then shift, his gaze distant, as he asks, "Do you know about the Ludwig family?" He laments the farewell to the students from Umbaran, recalling how Rain served as Professor Owen's teaching assistant for 3 long years. If that merciless and cruel beast kept Rain by his side for so long, then his talent must truly be exceptional, a feat not just anyone could accomplish. He is a genius who acquired the skills of a master at a young age, though the elders will undoubtedly be furious if they discover this. Still, the older man dismisses him as a worthless fool, vowing to expel him from the academy the next time he causes trouble. His companion, Kai, expresses surprise at such a high opinion of Rain, yet acknowledges that he hasn't truly accomplished anything significant. The older man challenges this, asking how he could call Rain worthless, the one who became a 4-star mage so quickly, overwhelming the elders once again, and setting the fastest record in history. Kai reminds him that he is the most experienced and has battled Rain himself. And furthermore, since he couldn't carry out his order, he is also at fault. Kai concludes the conversation with a simple, "That's all." Still reeling from the conversation, the older man's thoughts drift to Rain, acknowledging his immense power. Yet, he insists he isn't intimidated by the young mage, maintaining that the only reason he hasn't expelled him is because Rain is his disciple. Rewinding time. The narrative shifts to 15 minutes before the magic battle against Logan at the Laytons. Here, at the Layton Academy, within the Empire, lies a library housing tens of thousands of books, both ancient treasures and modern archives, where Rain finds himself pondering the strange fact that all these books and biographies were delivered directly to him. As he stands amidst the towering shelves, the older man approaches, remarking on the sheer volume of books, before offering another one to Rain. A stack of books is being prepared, their titles hinting at grand tales, with one volume clearly marked as the accomplishments of Master Archmage. Among them, volumes on analysis and pride, the Princess of the Red Dragon stand out. Rin, observing the collection, suggests they make a set of these biographies. His teacher, the bearded man, now sporting a whimsical witch's hat, challenges him, wondering aloud whose life story will prove the most extensive. This moment, a brief interlude, occurred exactly 15 minutes prior to the impending magic battle. The eccentric teacher dismisses the concerns of noble cottages, declaring his sole interest is in earning money, prompting Rin to remark on his teacher's apparent lack of confidence. A dismissive humph escapes the bearded man. He then leans in, taunting Rin, asking if he's truly afraid of the legendary dragon pride. Unfazed, Rin confidently asserts that he fears nothing, turning the question back to his teacher. He looks up at the imposing armored figure, wondering aloud if he is indeed the obvious choice for whatever task lies ahead. Repeating the phrase, he then urges his companion to speak plainly, his patience wearing thin. Professor Owen hums thoughtfully, then with a knowing smile, simply states, "Just because," before letting out a hearty laugh. His expression turning serious, Owen asks what he's thinking, but the young mage only reiterates his demand to hear it directly. The young mage confidently declares that he will live a long life because he is a good person, as Owen looks down at him with a gentle smile. Owen then cryptically remarks that the young man is the oldest of the four, making him the doomiest after himself, a comment the bearded man, observing nearby, notes as the same as always. Acknowledging his youth, Owen implies a long life, to which the young mage firmly states that he will indeed live long to become the greatest. Owen concedes that no one truly knows the future, a soft swish accompanying his words. But still, Owen adds, prompting the young mage to express his wish to read Owen's autobiography someday. A lone figure, an archer with long white hair, stands poised, her form fading into the background as if a distant memory. Meanwhile, Rin holds a worn book in his hands, a quiet thought echoing in his mind. But I'm the one who died first. The pages reveal the title Kybalion, and a single, stark declaration, "You won." Seated comfortably in a vast library, Rin continues his deep dive into the ancient texts. A quiet snap of the pages turning marks his progress through the dense material. He then finds himself browsing the towering shelves, noting that Kisa's biography is a little thicker than others, a soft flap accompanying his search. The title of the tome is revealed, The Life and Accomplishments of Master Archmage. The text describes him as being praised as the master of the bow, who established the clan of drunken archers, which emphasizes shooting under the influence, and raised many disciples. Back at his desk, Rin continues to absorb the fascinating history of the legendary archer. His eyes widen, glowing faintly red as he processes the text, realizing the legendary archer must have been quite old to have children when his wife was only 20. The book displays an illustration of the legendary Master Archer Keese, his green hair and emerald eyes captured in a moment of serene contemplation amidst falling autumn leaves. A small smile plays on Rin's lips as he continues to read, thinking it looked like a very satisfying life the archer had led. His gaze then falls upon the intricate cover of the book, titled Kybalion, its ancient script hinting at profound knowledge. A new section begins, heralded by a dramatic title card, Divide, the progenitor of the fire dragon. Rin eagerly flips through the pages, the sound of rustling paper filling the quiet library. He finds a sudden, inexplicable blank space, leaving him utterly bewildered. His brow furrows in confusion, a thoughtful expression settling on his face. He finally vocalizes his discovery, realizing there aren't any records of Keese after that particular year. The ancient text described a priestess named Hyde, who once led the Dragon's Republic, her fate after that time remaining a mystery. She simply disappeared, never to be seen again until the year 0. A disappearance that prompted the Republic's Association of Witches to declare her officially deceased. Reading this, Rin couldn't help but wonder if such a flamboyant woman truly died alone. He continued to ponder the implications of the historical account. concluding that perhaps people truly do change over time. A vibrant image of the priestess, Hyde, seemed to materialize in his mind's eye. But as his gaze fell upon the next section of the book, a jarring blank space appeared, as if the history had been violently ripped away. He reacted with an immediate, visceral denial. He recalls the words from the historical text, the image of the priestess and her companion flashing in his mind, as he grapples with the unsettling truth that they knew Pride best, and there was no way she would have died alone. A cold certainty settles over him. Something far more sinister must have transpired. His mana begins to crackle around him, reflecting his growing suspicion, as he wonders what exactly someone is trying to hide about her disappearance. Rin, deep in thought, surrounded by crackling magical energy, ponders the mystery. Considering the priestess, Pride, who vanished without a trace. His eyes glow crimson as he questions how such a significant disappearance could go unnoticed. Back in the library, he gasps, perhaps at a new realization, then brushes dust from an old tome, muttering his disappointment. This particular book, he decides, holds no answers. He considers shifting his focus to the Republic's archives. As he contemplates his next move, a pink-haired student approaches, suggesting a book on magic history. Rin looks at her, internally dismissing the idea as useless for his current investigation, while she enthusiastically recommends it. Receiving the recommended book, Rin offers a polite, if somewhat detached, thank you. As his gaze falls upon its cover, a faint, crimson glow ignites within his eye, a subtle surge of his inherent power. The title, The Cigarette-Wielding Priestess Tarina, hints at a connection to his ongoing investigation, a potential lead in his search for Pride. Suddenly, a small, intricate mechanical device whirs to life nearby, emitting a sharp, metallic step sound. The white-haired student, who had recommended the book, recoils in sudden alarm, her eyes glowing with a faint, ethereal light as she cries out, Master. Her voice laced with urgency, she continues, My lord? Rin, looking up from his seat, calmly inquires, What is it? The student quickly composes herself, looking away, muttering, In nothing. Thanks for the recommendation. Despite her sudden change in demeanor, the book's title remains clear, The Cigarette-Wielding Priestess Tarina. He considers the possibility, a faint whisper of doubt in his mind. Priestesses, individuals dedicated to serving the divine, are often seen as a distinct class of witches. Yet, not just anyone can ascend to such a sacred role. He wonders if she truly achieved this under Pride's tutelage. The thought of a priestess being a witch, or vice versa, feels contradictory, prompting a dismissive shake of his head. He can't fully trust the information presented, especially regarding Pride, deciding he'll need to search for more reliable sources within the Republic. Suddenly, a series of sharp, insistent chimes breaks his concentration. It's already late, he notes, but the interruption is welcome. As he was just about to begin his search, the device seemingly aware of his rising. As he processes the new information, a faint, crimson glow ignites within his eye. Standing opposite a stern-faced man, Rin dismisses the situation, claiming it has nothing to do with him. Suddenly, a book slips from his grasp, clattering to the floor as he curses under his breath. In another moment, a white-haired Rin, staff in hand, addresses someone unseen, promising to return in 15 minutes and asking for a brief moment of patience. He turns and walks away, his voice echoing with urgency, admitting he can't hold on much longer but will make it quick. A memory flashes, Rin's fist connecting with an opponent's face, the impact radiating through a crimson haze as he reassures someone, Don't worry. His hand, now holding a pen, is poised over a surface, the earlier promise of his return still hanging in the air. Elsewhere, a man with glasses looks down, lost in thought, reflecting on the aftermath of a magic battle with Gauguin. Back in the Grand Hall, the white-haired mage continues his urgent departure, a sense of unfinished business lingering in his wake. A sudden realization washes over Rin, his eyes widening in alarm as he processes an unsettling thought. An assistant, her face etched with worry, confronts him, demanding to know if he truly failed to check out the book earlier, to which he can only offer a sheepish apology, admitting he was too busy. She presses him further, her voice tinged with disbelief, as he simply denies taking it and questions why it matters so much. The conversation continues, surrounded by towering stacks of books. As the assistant wonders if someone else might have borrowed it, though she quickly dismisses the idea, explaining that checked-out books cannot leave the library without triggering alarms. Rin listens intently to her explanation, a flicker of understanding crossing his gaze as he considers the possibility that something unexpected occurred in the brief moment he was away. The assistant, now openly weeping, seems genuinely distraught, her sincerity evident in her tears. Finally, she offers a heartfelt apology, taking full responsibility for losing the book he entrusted to her, a sudden memory clicking into place for Rin as he quietly acknowledges her words. He listens intently as his assistant explains the gravity of the situation, emphasizing that she will contact him as soon as she finds anything, but that he could also simply buy another copy of the missing book. She continues, stating that she would pay for it herself, even if it meant selling her house and living in a tent, before quickly adding that she was only joking about the tent. The assistant then asks if he truly doesn't have to do anything, confirming that there's no need to refuse, as the book couldn't have left the library normally, and she feels responsible for its disappearance. He simply replies, "All right," before she asks if he is sure. She then muses that it's so uncompromising of him to make her do her job so well, adding that she's surprised someone like him even exists. With a slight smile, she offers a sincere thank you, before he finally acknowledges her with a quiet, "Lord Rain." Later, under the glow of a full moon, the grand library stands silent and imposing. Back in his room, Rin lies awake, lost in thought. A quiet thought echoes, a question hanging in the air. As Rin's eye glows with a faint red light, he seems to be searching for something within himself. A memory surfaces, an elderly woman's words about life's fleeting nature, a sentiment he's been hearing far too often lately. Another image, a young woman's smile, accompanies a strange, yet not unpleasant, feeling, something new and intriguing. Lying on his bed, Rin considers the possibility that his body is changing, or perhaps something else entirely. Regardless, he knows he must take responsibility for the incident, even if he can't quite recall the details. The entire situation feels deeply suspicious, a puzzle with too many missing pieces. He can't believe he forgot about the chance to acquire a book he'd been seeking for so long, a memory only now returning to him. Such a lapse in memory seems impossible, leaving him deeply unsettled. He sees a vision of a smiling woman with light blue hair, a shield held defensively, as a chilling thought echoes, "She's dead." The memory shifts, showing two pairs of legs walking away, then his own figure standing alone, looking down at a small, dark form, the weight of millennia settling upon him. He recalls the faces of his companions, Keese, Lista, and Pride, standing beside his younger self, a vivid snapshot from a distant past. The image blurs to the legs of many, then focuses on his own younger, smiling face, a time when he knew these people, and he was simply Rin. Suddenly, he's back in the present, standing under a harsh, isolating light, a single question escaping his lips, "What is this?" His gaze falls upon an old, forgotten book, a stark reminder of those who are already gone. A wave of disbelief washes over him, his hands clutching his head as the realization hits him with full force. "No way. I completely forgot about these things." The memory of a hand holding a stack of money flashes, followed by a burst of blue magical energy. He sits, a glowing blue orb held between his hands, a soft swoosh of power emanating from it, as if the forgotten memories are now coalescing into something tangible. As the lingering magical energy from his recent memory surge dissipates, Rin finds himself contemplating the system message, wondering aloud, "Why did the progress go up? My unique magic research within the subdimensional environment now shows 37.9% complete." A flash of memory, sharp and unsettling, pierces his mind, revealing a glowing red eye, and the chilling thought that the only thing he could do was use magic to beat a kid up, causing him to gasp. Sweat beads on his brow as the memory intensifies, the realization hitting him hard. This disturbing vision is directly tied to the progress of his unique magic research. His hand clenches involuntarily, glowing with faint red energy, as the memory continues to play, showing the magic he used to beat that kid up, a snarl escaping him. Slumping over his book, he tries to dismiss the unsettling vision, declaring it absurd. A shimmering blue butterfly, formed from pure magical energy, manifests before him as he internally cautions himself. "Let's not get agitated. It's just a memory. I know that my body has been changing, but this is the first time I've seen this." He watches the ethereal creature, a silent question hanging in the air, as the magical butterfly hovers delicately above his open book. Rising to his feet, he walks away from the book and the glowing butterfly, reflecting that he hasn't done anything to harm anyone from that memory, and the progress increased by 0.1% when he used magic to beat a non-living target. He struggles with a profound internal conflict, a white aura flaring around him amidst shattered remnants, as a voice within denies his identity, proclaiming, "I'm not the descendant," after fighting for a long time. Back in his room, he lets out a frustrated groan while stretching, a book clutched in his hand, convinced that this new path is worth testing. His gaze falls upon the cover of a book titled Magic Theory, yet a significant hurdle remains, as learning magic that only exists within the school system will be a problem. The ethereal blue butterfly, a manifestation of his unique power, hovers beside the words "and adventurers," hinting at a different source of knowledge. With a determined glint in his eyes, Rin considers the practicalities, realizing he needs money to buy more books, concluding that it's not a bad idea.